Justice Baha'i series. And my name is Charlene Stevens, if we haven't met already. And I'm just delighted to see so many of you here. If you could just raise a hand if this is your first time joining us tonight. Okay, oh, got a few hands. All right, wonderful. Okay, awesome. Well, welcome, welcome. This is family, this is home. So we're delighted that you're here with us. This series was started, or actually it's sponsored by the Baha'i community of Wacomico County, Maryland, or Salisbury, Maryland. Many people know the name of Salisbury, Maryland, half hour from Ocean City. And we started this just shortly after George Floyd, but it had been something we'd wanted to do for a long time because we realized how important this issue of eliminating racism was. And so with the advent of Zoom, that allowed us to do something that a very small community wouldn't have been able to do on our own, and bring in speakers, you know, and all of that kind of stuff. So that's how this has come about. And our primary purpose here is to bring to the fore issues surrounding racial healing and racial justice. Our presenters come from a variety of backgrounds. This is also a place for capacity building, whether it's individuals trying to unlearn racist behaviors, likewise, those of us becoming just more conscious of how racism has affected all of us, every single one of us, every color of us, and how to break away from that. This is a space for discussion and tools and examination and expanding the ways in which we can thwart this what is seemingly intractable problem. But as Baha'is, we know it's not intractable. It's difficult, it's pernicious, it's insidious and vicious. But we do know that it's not intractable and it can be overcome. So that's kind of the purpose of our sessions here. We're going to proceed this evening with everyone's on mute, and so that there aren't any interruptions when the presenters are performing for us. If there's time, we'll have maybe a couple of questions after each performer. And then at the very end, around 9:30 is what we're shooting for. Then we'll have a short announcement. Those that need to leave, you know, can do so. And those that can continue to stay, then we'll have, you know, more informal, you know, Q&A and discussion about things with our performers, about their artistry, you know, and things of that nature. So we start all of our programs with a devotional portion. And this evening we have, this is the order, we have Kim Williams who will be providing a prayer in song for us. Then a short, well, it's a 5-minute video of Walter Heath, and a prayer spoken by Nason Sturdivant. And then Milton will close out our devotional portion with the hollow reed, which is the portion of a prayer that is almost synonymous with this, certainly with Milton, and certainly with this series. And then we'll go ahead and introduce our guests and have a little Q&A about hip hop, rap, spoken word, where that started, where it is and where it's been, and how that relates to Black culture and our understanding of various forms of artistry in reflecting what is the reality of the world today, as well as the spiritual reality that it's up to us to capture, to change what we're seeing here on a daily basis. So with that, let's go to start our devotions, and if we can get Kim Williams unmuted. And I don't see her, so maybe Nason.
I'm unmuted.
Okay, whenever you're ready, Kim.
He is the healer, the sufficer, the helper, the all-forgiving, the all-merciful. I call on thee, O exalted one, O faithful one, O glorious one. Thou the sufficing, thou the healing, thou the abiding, thou the healing, O thou abiding one. I call on thee, I call on thee, I call on thee, O thou abiding one. I call on thee, oh my God. He is the healer, the sufficer, the helper, the all-forgiving, the all-merciful. I call on thee, O exalted one, O faithful one, O glorious one. Thou the sufficing, thou the healing, thou the abiding, thou the healing, O thou abiding one. I call on thee, I call on thee, I call on thee, O thou abiding one. I call on thee, I call on thee, I call on thee, O thou abiding one. I call on thee, oh my God.
Oh, children of men. Oh, children of men. Know ye not why we created you all from the same dust, that no one should exalt himself substance. It is incumbent on you to be even as one soul, to walk with the same feet, eat with the same mouth, and dwell in the same land, that from your inmost being, by your deeds and actions, the signs of oneness and the essence of detachment may be made manifest. Such is my counsel to you, O concourse of light. Heed ye this counsel, that ye may obtain the fruit of honey from the tree of wondrous glory. Know ye not why we created you all from the same dust, that no one should exalt himself over the other? Oh, children of men, oh, children of men, Bahá'í.
Oh God, make me a hollow reed, from which the pith of self has been blown, that I may become a clear channel through which thy love may flow to others. Oh God, make me a hollow reed, from which the pith of self has been blown, that I may become a clear channel through which thy love may flow to others. Oh God, oh my God, make me a hollow reed, from which the pith of self has been blown, that I may become a clear channel through which thy love may flow to others. Oh God, make me a hollow reed from which the pith of self has been blown, that I may become a clear channel through which thy love may flow to others.
Thou knowest, O my Lord, that I am but one of thy servants. I have tasted of the sweetness of thy speech, and acknowledge thy unity and thy singleness, and set my face towards the source of thy most excellent names, and the dayspring of thy transcendent attributes, and wished to be enabled by thee to immerse myself beneath the ocean of thy oneness, and to be submerged by the mighty waters of thy unity. Assist me by thy strengthening grace, O my Lord, to do what thou didst will, and withhold not from me the things thou dost possess. So enravish me with the wonders of thine utterances, that the noise and distraction of this world may be powerless to deter me from turning unto thee, and may fail to shake my constancy in thy cause, or to distract my gaze from the horizon of thy grace. Aid me then, O my God, to do what pleaseth thee, and to carry out thy will. Write down for me, moreover, the good of this world and of the world which is to come, and ordain for me a seat of truth in thy presence. Potent art thou to do what thou willest, and to rule as thou pleasest. No God is there but thee, the inaccessible, the all-glorious, the most great.
Thank you, friends. That was wonderful. And special thanks to Kim and Walter Heath, who's not here with us, but in spirit, for making that beautiful piece. And Nason, and of course, our own Milton Conway. So with that, we'd like to go ahead and transition into our program for this evening. And I'm very pleased and excited to introduce these wonderful, wonderful artists to you. I'm going to call them each by name so they can holler at you and wave for a second so you can actually see who they are. Please make sure you're on speaker view so that you're actually going to see them when they're performing and not the whole gallery. You want to make sure you've got that set up so you get the full benefit of their work today. And then we'll have a conversation about them. They said I didn't need to read their bios, and these are really some extraordinary men that we have with us this evening. I won't read their bios. You will get them later on, along with the lyrics of all of the pieces that they're performing tonight, and those will come by email to anyone who's on our email list. If you'd like to be on our email list, just put it in the chat. Just put your email in there. I'll add you on. That's the only thing your email will be used for, is something regarding this series or information such as this. And I'll also include the links to Walter Heath's piece as well. So first up, I'd like to introduce Kirk Nugent. Can you give us a holler out, Kirk? take yourself off mute and
Hi
can't hear
guys, how
you.
you guys doing? Sherilyn, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, seeing so many beautiful faces, different cultures, different backgrounds. Just remind me that we're all branches of the same tree called humanity. I love you guys, so I'm looking forward to this. Thank you.
Mm. Thank you so much, Kirk. And that's, hey, he just told you why we love him already, right? And wait till you hear him, I'm telling you. Next up, we have Karim Rushdy. Can you give us a holler out, Karim?
Hello, hello. Hi, everybody. I echo everything that Kirk said.
Now you're gonna have to do some of your own stuff tonight now, Karim. You can't keep riding off of Kirk, okay? All right, and next to you over there, that beautiful smiling face. I've been waiting to meet this man. I've been waiting to meet him. This is Bigg Zee, or Zach is his real name, but his performing name is Bigg Zee. And you want to shout out to everyone, please, Bigg Zee?
How y'all doing tonight? It's a pleasure to meet y'all, and I appreciate being a part of this. I hope you love everything that we got prepared for you today.
I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will. And home, we're back home. Our own Milton Conway from New Jersey. Give us a holler out, Milton. Everyone should know you, but just in case they don't.
Hey, everybody. Aloha. Yeah, I'm just so happy to be here and to provide the service of the, my voice, my talent, the gifts, and Sherilyn has, enriched my life by involving me in this process. So I'm so grateful to be here, and I'm going to let as much love flow through me tonight as I possibly can. My mom's on here watching, well, she's listening, so.
Yes, yes. You're gonna love him, Mom. I know you already do, but yeah, and Milton has, this series wouldn't be the same without Milton, let me tell you that. It just wouldn't be. And he's been with me every evening that we've done this, and he's performed Hollow Reed, and he's taken us all to another place with that every single time, and it never gets old. So I can't thank you for the young man you raised and the things that he's bringing and doing in the community and in his family. So we'd like to have a little discussion, and I'm going to kind of ask Milton and Kirk to sort of start this off because I think they're, well, I don't want to say it, but they're actually older than Bigg Zee and Karim. But that's important because they have more experience, more history with what hip hop is, spoken word, rap, all of that. And so if you guys could just tell us a little bit about how this genre or genres, have developed and changed over time, and your connections with them. And then we'll turn it over to Bigg Zee and Karim on that same topic.
Sure.
You want me to start, Milton, or are you good?
You can go.
Okay, I'll be brief. Listen, guys, again, I'm looking at the screen, and you're just some beautiful, beautiful human beings, man. But anyway, hip hop, I'm just excited. But I was born in Jamaica. I came to the United States at age 15. When I came to the United States, hip hop was just coming out, but we had our own version in Jamaica. We had artists like Yellow Man, and a lot of the early hip hop artists were Jamaicans. And but back then, when hip hop came out, there was no money in it. It was just young artists performing, and they were talking about their blocks. Wherever they came from, it was positive. They were uplifting where they were coming from. We referred to the woman, like I went to school in Irvington High with Dana Owens. You guys might know her as Queen Latifah. So we referred to our women as queens and goddess, and it was all uplifting. And later, as Main Street thought it was a fad and certainly it was going to die. It didn't die. It just kept getting bigger and stronger and better. Then they had kids in Hong Kong started listening to hip hop. Once the money came in and big corporation came over, they started deciding what will be a part of hip hop. And the lyrics got more and more negative. We stopped calling her women queens and goddesses and start referring to them as B's and H and all these other stuff. So that's when I started pretty much tuning out. But when hip hop first started, it was really a beautiful art form of telling stories with lyrics. And I just thought it was amazing the talent that these kids have to tell a story that you could visually see everything that was going on mentally, rather. And I just think a lot of big corporations came in and other monies and other people and just totally polluted the art form. Booby, Milton, rather.
Yeah, no. Everybody here is family and friends. My family and friends know me as Booby. So Milton is what it is, but my mama has never called me Milton a day in my life. She named me that name, but she calls me Booby all day, every day. So it's cool. I'm going to go back a little bit to 1973. August 11th is the birth date of hip hop in America. And it was a gentleman who was of Jamaican descent, Kool Herc, who pretty much was the initiator of the concept and the culture that came in. The culture of hip hop was something that myself, as a young man in the inner city of Newark, New Jersey, was very fascinated with in the late 70s and early 80s. So much so because there was a consciousness that was present in what was going on in that hip hop back then, because, you know, the stories were coming from New York about how some gang activity had got quelled because Africa Bambaataa, who was another founding member of the culture, had decided to say, look, you guys that are out here battling or warring in the streets, find another way, use your creativity, challenge each other. Don't, use violence. You're better than that. And the idea of that idea of something being better or us being better was also something that was being presented to us as youth, because I was a part of a youth organization called the International Youth Organization, ironically. And the International Youth Organization's founder, Mr. Wallace, would always tell us there's more to youth than drug addicts, dropouts, and purse snatchers. And he would provide space for us to have team parties, is what they called them. And the DJs at the time would play, first there was this disco music that was playing, but somewhere around the early 80s, that music started to change. And the music changing had this stuff that they had labeled as hip hop or rap. Hip hop as a culture has 5 elements that have been established that most hip hop purists all agree. The first of which is graffiti, which is the writing of language or the scribe that documents the history of what we've been through. So you guys may be familiar with the trains in New York with the graffiti writing there, or walls with beautiful murals that were painted. And that was something that I'll allude to in a minute about how my brother got inspired and we started a business and became, graphic artists in the graffiti realm. The second is the MC, or the oral griot, the conveyor of the message, the person that writes the rhymes and tells the story. DJing is the heartbeat, the drum, or the art of the music. And the DJ, the term, pretty much derived from the djembe drum, which is spelled D-J-E-M-B-E, which is an African instrument. The B-boy or the B-girl, or what you may know as the break dancer, B-boying and B-girl is the exercise of the human expression through dance or body movement, and to keep the body in proper health. And the 5th element that is added is knowledge. And knowledge is the reason why we are who we are, and where our roots come from, what the beginning of man. It's all the spiritual elements and essence. And that's always been there in the essence of the root of hip hop. And like Kirk said, as time evolved and capitalism became part of what was going on in the mainstream, the commercialization of our culture had it taken away and exploited for the more darker elements that were there. And as we go through telling what it is, as I tell some of the stories in the piece that I do, I'll explain even further there. But for the most part, that's the basic foundation for what we're building on tonight.
Thank you so much. That was very, very informative. Karim and Zach, why don't you guys step in and tell us how you entered into this?
You go, I go. All right, pretty good. All right. Well, for me personally, it's kind of like the same story that you hear a lot. Just another kid from another ghetto, and I saw opportunity that nobody else ever got to me with hip hop. You know, it really changed my life to do something more instead of just doing the same things that everybody else was doing. And especially where I'm from, Native Americans are probably the most oppressed people over here. And for us, we don't have anybody to really look up to. I can't look on the TV and see a famous Native guy everywhere I look. I can't see a famous rock star or hip hop star, but in that same sentence, it inspired me to try and be that trailblazer and try and be that person to try and make something more for not just my life, but every other kid on the res is looking up to me, and every other kid anywhere around that just relates to anything that I'm saying, anything that we're doing. And we're able to convey that message together through music. And this has been everything to me. And that's what it is, hip hop.
Awesome. Okay, Karim, you've delayed enough.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing, man. For me, hip hop and rap has been my outlet. So, you know, I'm a mixed individual, and you know, I was born in one place and raised in others. I did my grade 2 year in 3 different countries. So for me, identity has been my struggle. So who am I? Which culture is my culture? I don't even know. You know, I am some things and I'm not any of them at the same time. And so for me, that's kind of been the story of my life. And so, yeah, so for me, it's when I was able to begin rapping and using rhyme and words to express, this is when I was able to offload some of that stress, some of that, you know, confusion in my life. And so, yeah, that's what it's been for me in a nutshell. You know, I could go on for a long time, but that's basically for me has been the tool that I needed to express my inner struggle, my inner identity battle within myself, to let that out. And then beyond that, now to use the same art form to help inspire others, just like Bigg Zee was saying. So that's been my experience with rap and hip hop in a nutshell.
Would you guys mind sharing with everyone, in case they didn't have an opportunity to read your bios, where you're from?
All right, well, I'm from Chippewa Thames First Nation, but I grew up in London, Ontario. That's a little city about like an hour and a half away from Toronto. So a little bit about that is just on the reserve. There's not too much to do, but you know, basically get into a lot of negative things. But
Yeah.
you know, for me, it was just good to know that me traveling and doing this and everything together has gotten me to travel to way more places, Toronto and LA and all these other places I would have never saw without this. But you know, that's where I'm from, is that little town.
Okay, you're representing well. Karim?
Yeah, I was born in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, and then we moved to India. I was there for a few years, then we moved to the United States. I was there for a few months. Then we moved to Canada, and I've been in Canada for some time, then went back to India in grade 8 for my grade 8 year. Then I went back to India again after high school to do volunteer work at the Bahá'í House of Worship for 6 months, which was an incredible experience. And then married my wife, who is Korean and Swedish. And then, so we lived in South Korea for a year and a half.
Okay.
My heritage is Egyptian, Persian, Irish, and Scottish.
That was Irish and Scottish on the end there, you said? Okay, okay. Yeah, we can hardly hear you. You're a little faint over there. You guys are social distancing, right?
Yeah, we're trying our best.
Yeah, yeah, I figured. Awesome.
Raised it up. Yeah.
Yeah, good examples, good examples. Yeah, it's real interesting, you know, what everyone has shared, how, you know, we have this ancestral tradition of conveying values through the spoken word, through storytelling, right? And this, in my mind, this is a continuation of this very primal form of communication about who we are, what we're seeing, what we're living. And hip hop really takes it, has really taken it to, or actually has really come from, quote unquote, the people, as opposed to something top down. I mean, if you think about going really back in history, if you look in Western Europe, you know, I forget what the guy's name was called, but the town crier or whatever, you know, would be the news of the king and this kind of stuff, not what was going on, right, with the serfs and the, you know, indentured servants. Likewise, on the African continent, you know, this spoken word was conveying ancestry, lineage, you know, and again, history, purpose. And now with this, with hip hop, it started with the people and is showing us what people are really experiencing. And then at the same time, we have this, over a period of time, we have this intersection where, you know, I think as Kirk said, something so uplifting and positive is intersected by commercialism, and it becomes so eroded and degraded. And we see that kind of cycle with a lot of things in life, especially from a historical perspective. And just as humanity is evolving, you know, from this age of adolescence that we're in, where we're fighting over man-made constructs that have no real basis in reality, we're all at this adolescent stage on the brink of a coming of age, a coming of maturity, where art forms like this and being able to recognize the humanity in everyone, the nobility in everyone, but especially in the oppressed, right? These things are coming to the fore, and we're kind of in the midst of that. And we all have an opportunity in this day and age to make our mark, and how that's going to end up, and how fast it's going to take, rather, to get us to that stage of maturity where we don't have people killed by spit bags and knees on necks and cowardly shots in the back, but where we really have real justice. And we won't have real justice until we eliminate racism. It just won't happen. So it has to go hand in hand. And, but let me get off my soapbox a little bit. But this conversation really stimulated me in that way. And we'll have plenty of time, folks, for further discussion, but we should get on with the program. So Milton's up first, and he's got some beautiful pieces that he's gonna tell us about and share with us. So Milton, are you ready?
Ready and willing to go forth. So again, hey everybody. I'm gonna do 3 pieces, 2 of which I wrote, and one was written by the gentleman who I call my spiritual mentor, because when I met this man, I was an atheist. And he introduced me to some concepts in the piece that I'm gonna present. It's called You Must Find the Plus Sign. I'll do that at the end. The first piece I'm gonna share is one that I wrote for my father upon his passing. the backstory to the song is that my dad had always been, you know, a fighter when it came to his health. He was in and out of the hospital multiple times during my childhood. And so as a young adult, he grew ill in 1991, and he was hospitalized. And my dad was always, when he was out of the hospital, always the life of the party. Everybody, all my cousins, all my male cousins looked at him. He was everybody's favorite uncle. He was always, you know, putting a laugh on your face, no matter what the circumstances was. He was always there to provide what he could for us as his children and my mom, and do some things for us. And so when he fell ill in 91, he was hospitalized. He had a heart attack. And I think throughout the course of the year, he had been hospitalized for an entire year. And he just wasn't getting well. And somewhere in the midst of that time, at that time, I was a correction officer in the New Jersey State Correction System. And there were times when there would be an inmate who would be ill that would be housed at the hospital, and then officers would have to be there to guard him. And there were times when folks that would be on that duty would come into work and say, Milton, I thought you were in the hospital. I saw somebody with your name. And I said, oh, that's my dad. Other folks would say, Milton, we spoke to your father, and he says you don't come to the hospital to see him. You need to go see your father. And I said, well, my dad has been in and out of the hospital my whole life, so he's coming back. I just don't like to see him in there. So I really never went until my mom told me, you know, that there was a time that he had become so gravely ill that they were going to put him on a respirator, and they had put him on a respirator. So after they did that, my brother and myself went in to go see him. And it was a moment there while we were standing on either side of his bed that he pretty much, because he had all the tubes going in his throat and up his nose, IV everywhere, he couldn't speak. So he was making hand motions, and I couldn't figure out what it was. I asked him, did he maybe need some ice chips or some water or something? My brother said, no, it looked like he's telling us to pull the plug. And I was like, nope, we can't do that. My brother went into a little speech that was resembling something that a coach would tell a team at the end of the fourth quarter of the game. And if they're behind, we went into that kind of speech to motivate them. My dad understood that we wasn't going to do it. He had been looking at us, but then he simply just closed his eyes, and I saw a single tear fall. And within a couple of days of that meeting, visitation, he passed. And at that time, I was involved in a group of guys who were trying to sing, and I was the primary songwriter. So in anticipation of having to do something at my dad's funeral, I penned this song. It's called Happy. You struggled hard to provide for us each and every day. Worked 2 jobs from dawn to dusk, even through the pain. Your spirits were high both day and night, although inside you were suffering. You sure put up one hell of a fight just to see what tomorrow would bring. And I'm happy, happy, happy. You're no longer in pain. Yes, I'm happy, happy, happy. Even though I won't see you again. Said I'm happy, happy, happy. You're no longer in pain. Yes, I'm happy, happy, happy. Even though I won't see you again. You thought you raised a stubborn boy to be a stubborn man. Yet through it all, the pain and joy that I did understand. We fuss and fight both day and night, with mama asking, will it ever end? No one would let the other be right. How in the world could we ever win? And I'm not happy, happy, happy with all the things I did. No, not happy, happy, happy. But then again, I was just happy, happy. You're no longer in pain. Yes, I'm happy, happy, happy. Even though I won't see you again. You passed away not long ago. from what it was they did not know. You've gone away, and now a part of you is left inside of my heart. Sometimes I don't know what to do. You know I'll never forget you. They say that it will hurt a while, but then I think of you and I smile, 'cause I'm happy, happy, happy. You're no longer in pain. Yes, I'm happy, happy, happy. Even though I won't see you again. Said I'm happy, happy, happy. You're no longer in pain. Yes, I'm happy, happy, happy. Even though I won't see you again. Thank you. So the next one, this was a piece that it's a work in progress that I have to finish, but I wrote this when my daughter.
Excuse me,
I'm
Milton.
sorry. Yes.
Milton, can you try to talk a little louder? You sound a little faint.
Really?
Yeah, the song came across well.
Okay, can you hear me now? Is it better? Or do I need to?
No, not really. Yeah, and while Milton's making adjustments,
Okay,
yeah,
can you hear me
please
now?
feel free to leave comments in the chat for our performers. They'll get those comments from everyone later at the end too.
I don't know. Can you hear me better now?
No, we can still hear you though.
Okay, I'm not sure what happened to my audio.
Okay. All right. Other people are saying they can hear you just fine, so I guess it's just me.
Okay, I think Kirk said something too. But okay, the next piece, as I was saying, I wrote this when my daughter, who's 22 now, I wrote this when she was 13. And reflecting, you know, back then with the events and the activities that were going on, ironically, my son, who's 12, and he's got a pretty decent voice too, you know, is prepared and learning the lyrics to this song. It's called 13-Year-Old Eyes. Eyes, not dies. I'm looking at the world through the eyes of a 13-year-old. I bet you won't be so surprised by the stories I'm told. Why in the world are things this way? My mind's in a whirl and I feel betrayed. What's going on? What's going wrong? Who is to blame? It's such a shame. Why do they lie? False alibis. Don't hesitate. Let's make things straight. Oh, why is my life so easily jeopardized? And who's gonna write righteous scripts, get them televised, so I can change images floating through my mind? Oh, the world sings through 13-year-old eyes. Oh, the world sings through 13-year-old eyes. So yeah, that's that. That one, I'm hoping that my brother Karim up there can help me put some music and some lyrics to that. and Kirk, I've signed him on to try and put some things together because I think it's a longer piece and I needed to tell the story of what it is that the 13-year-olds experience and the things that they're seeing. So my final piece that I'll share with you is the one I told you that was written by my spiritual mentor, a gentleman that I only know is by the name Jay Starr. You know, my brother and I, as I told you guys earlier in the hip hop introduction, got into business and we did graphic art and design. And he and I were partners in this business and I opened the business up. And within 4 days of us opening the business, a young man walked through the door and he came and he approached my brother. We were in there together, but I was sitting behind the desk and my brother was at the front. And my brother he approached my brother and he came to him and he said that he wanted a job because he was an artist. And my brother, because I was the business mind and he was the artist, sent him over to me. So at the time, I was like, man, listen, this was a concept that I came up with. I invested some money in his talent. I saw that he had the ability to draw and people would actually pay us for him to draw on their clothing. So we just opened it up, got the airbrush and got everything going. Gentleman came to me, his name was Jay Rue. And when he came, you know, I said, listen, I like your work. I saw his portfolio and I recognized, you know, that he could be an asset. So I brought him aboard and made him a partner. During the time we were there, at that time I was an atheist and he was coming with a very spiritual message, but I was a practicing atheist. So anybody that came to me with religion, they're gonna have a problem holding on to their religion while I talk to them about the error of their ways and their thoughts. So he would do this thing where instead of debating me at length and ad nauseum, he would play the music, and we were hip hop inspired. It's a graffiti shop, so he'd put a cassette tape in. One of the first tapes he put in was Bob Marley's Legend album. If any of you are familiar with Bob Marley's Legend album, you would know. I don't care where you are, whatever darkness you're going through in your mind, and whatever illusion or vain imaginings you may have about yourself, Bob's message in that music will get to you and help you understand there is a God. And so there was that. And then in addition to that, he would put this other tape in, and it was hip hop based. It was a lot of old school 80s hip hop beats, but the lyrics were so profound. And I said, who is that? He said, that's Jay Starr. And I'm like, wow. He had songs on there that were entitled Stay Up, My Brother, The Process is Progress, and things of that nature. But the one that really resonated with me the most was this piece called You Must Find the Plus Side. Here it goes. We gotta release what's righteous. Stay up, my brother's attention, now please pay up. With the power of giving, living positive. Breathe in the breath of life and live. With the word manifest to give vision clarity. Sent to the bent for their mental prosperity. Where there is no vision, people perish. Life you must cherish to flourish and nourish. A new righteous generation with lofty eyes. Students prudent and wise who seek salvation, turn away wrath. Escape through the straight and narrow path. Who walk by faith and not by sight. And go out of the darkness and into the light. The light on the path through the gates of gold, from the mind to the body to the soul. Straight from the hip to the heart of the matter. No idle chatter, no insufficient data. A wholesome tongue is the tree of life when Mr. Proud Heart stirs up strife. Beware of bedlam where brimstone is brewing, for even a child will be known by his doing. A fool will be full and won't seek learning. A wise man will hear and increase yearning. Surely oppression makes a wise man mad, but it's better to be wanted than to be had by the lie that will die when the truth is taught of the original man of old, sold and bought. Deprived of a language, culture, faith, and name, pride comes down and then comes shame. But here's a policy insurance for longevity. As we defy the law of gravity and levitate, manifest destiny and trust time, you must find the plus sign. More than just the color, black's your calling. Uprise your third eye, because Babylon is falling. Reach your peak before you seek to speak. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Know when to shut up until you know what up. We want to go in no direction but up. If you ain't on the way, you're in the way. Roll from your soul and control what you say, because every idle word will be judged. Say move to a mountain and it won't budge until you've thrown a philosopher's stone deep into the valley of dry bones. Never let yourself be the blind that lead the blind or cast pearls before swine. You got the power to produce. Give it up, turn it loose. You must find the plus sign. Now, the name of the game is Man Know Thyself. Rise to spiritual wealth and health with the almighty will versus the almighty dollar bill. The prophecies fulfilled like the mind of a man in the midst of insanity. Rhymes with the times and the crimes of humanity. So like a termite in the tenement of tyranny. Toe to toe against the elements and enemies. The wanton, the worldly, the wickedly wise. Like a viper, the type that be spreading lies. That the ear is hearing and the eye is seeing in the presence of pleasance. The essence of being a stranger to danger. A fellow feel safe. Keep the faith from the 1st to the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th will evolve and the mysteries will solve themselves. Reason with the riddle, picture big or little, and all you've got is one jot and tittle of a concept constricted to depict a conflict that will contradict. It's the knowledge you lack that holds you back. Truth is belief that conforms to fact. I'm sorry. The knowledge you lack that holds you back. And truth is belief that conforms to fact. The proof is in the pudding. Put two and two together. And now that you got the power, make things better. Add to life and live more abundantly, make a change, and it won't be redundant. Because day after day, you do what you do, but it's the faith in the future that makes things new. Transfuse blood type, be positive, lift. Oh my God. How did I lose my thoughts? Oh, I gotta find where I was at. I gotta start over. The name of the game is no man, know thyself. Rise to spiritual wealth and health with the almighty will versus the almighty dollar bill. The prophecies fulfilled like the mind of the man in the midst of insanity. Rhymes with the times and the crimes of humanity. So like a termite in the tenement of tyranny. Toe to toe against the elements and enemies. The wanton, the worldly, the wickedly wise. Like a viper, the type that be spreading lies. That the ear is hearing and the eye is seeing. In the presence of pleasance. The essence of being a stranger. The danger a fellow feels safe. Keep the faith from the 1st to the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. We evolve and the mysteries solve themselves. Reason with the riddle. Picture big or little, and all you've got is one jot and tittle of a concept constricted to depict a conflict that will contradict. It's the knowledge you lack that holds you back. And truth is belief that conforms to fact. The proof is in the pudding. Put two and two together, and now that you got the power, make things better. Add to life and live more abundantly. Make a change, and it won't be redundant, because day after day, you do what you do. But it's the faith in the future that makes things new. Transfuse blood type, be positive. Rift to lift, and let the gifted give the talents to balance a world so unstable. Speaking the truth and no tales or fables. Understand the planet you heard. No longer will spiritual vision be blurred. Open your eye, not the left, not the right, but the third, and inherit the word that the other would smother so the brother would step down. Clever endeavor, however, could never be kept down. A mental breakdown, a gentle shakedown, a plot and not an accidental takedown. Under the surface, the purpose is the process. Executing evolutionary progress from beast to man to God and spirit. Understand the word when you hear it. Sow the seeds of the righteous, not the wicked. Life is like a garden, if you could dig it. The way for all is to witness and call a truce and give it up, turn it loose. You must find the plus sign. That's first. Now, playing the positive role type model for those stuck in the crack or lost in a bottle. Everybody's got a problem of their own, but living in a glass house, don't throw stones. To thy own self be true. Why point a finger when one's pointed at you? Yes, you're a master, yet you're a slave when you're controlled by the things that you crave. Seek to satisfy selfish needs. Nevertheless, never blessed in your deeds. But I feel your pineal gland demanding knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. So I'm a drip a drop of science with the proper appliance. Now just stop your defiance. I'm hoping yours will open doors, not broken jaws from broken laws. This is the main point, not from a vain point. A voice from the wilderness came to anoint 12 to the 12th power, and to assemble in the days when the keepers of the house shall tremble. Saints and sinners, you ain't the winners unless you enhance and advance as beginners. A simple case of desire versus discipline. If your heart isn't in it, what is it in? Divination or disaster? One man can't serve two masters. Mentally we measure pain and pleasure. Train your brain to attain this treasure. When you learn a lesson, then you earn a blessing. Know the truth and no need for guessing. The unseen is the ultimate. From the spin, split to the infinite. Mind, subconscious, sublime, transcending dimensions of space and time to step into a whole new era and hear a clearer message that'll lead you all to look into the mirror. Reflect upon the path of everlasting truth. Yeah, truth. And not iconoclastic jargon, too far gone to comprehend. A love of learning is the way to defend yourself against the seeds of the self-ambitious, the vicious, the malicious, the avaricious, hardness and hardships. On this, the hard trip, some beat the system on the God tip. So if you can't find the word in the beast or the burden, don't submit to the snake in the pit. You got energy, you got juice. Give it up, turn it loose. You must find the plus sign. Thank you.
That was awesome, Milton. That was awesome. And wait till you folks get the lyrics and can actually sit down and go through it line by line. There is so much truth in that. It's just awesome. And weren't those were just beautiful songs, you know. So Milton's a songwriter and a performer and a singer. And thank you so much for being here with us tonight, Milton. I know you're not going anywhere just yet, but you know, I just want to put that out there.
Thank you.
Real quick. Yeah, that was just awesome. Just awesome. The heads were moving, man. People were like, Okay. So up next is Bigg Zee. You ready, my man?
Oh yeah, I'm always ready.
Okay.
So, for this first piece that I got here, it's not as long as that one. That was amazing, by the way. Oh my God, I'm still thinking about it. So this piece right here I wrote when I was around like 16, 17, and I was seeing the same things in the world that was happening around me and my people, and I started seeing that, like, you know, every culture has the same oppression. They're all oppressed in some way, shape, or form, with exactly what we're talking about now is the systematic racism that's involved with it. And so I made this originally as a spoken word, now put on a song. The whole thing was titled The Real North America, just to put a light on some of the darker things that are happening. So without further ado, I'll just get started. So you think my Islamic brothers would make terrorist attacks if they weren't shunned, shamed, taught a way they're supposed to act? It's a modern day colonization, same thing they did to us. Where you think my people addicted to fire, water, and smack? Now how can you build a wall to keep my southern brothers down when they're the ones that built all the walls around your town? Same thing they did to us, boxed us in because we're brown. Gold, land, oil on your North American soil. All across the world, we all got murdered by the crown. Now, that's not hate against whites. I love y'all. It's the government. Young, unintelligent, dark-skinned degenerate is the first label to put on a young native struggling. Face it, that's the name I'm giving to my skeleton. The good things in the mirror seem irrelevant. Native American, that's my evidence. Grandma's caravan, rolling to the residence. Stop the stare again, you'll find savage arrogance. Nazi, ignorant, Aryan, apparently they look at me hysterically. I've been treated terribly, so I don't care to see. Just give them common courtesy. Burn to the third degree, kill them with hyperboles. Wondering how I were to be so perfectly. A mixture of struggle, pain, and controversies. A bush native, time to get down and dirty. Me. Thank you. All right, so get right into it. This next piece that we got here, I made, which rap camp was that? We've done quite a lot now.
It's 2018.
2018, okay, so in 2018, we were doing it together with the kids, and we wanted to make a song based on the story of our lives. So beginning, a middle, of the end. So when Karim put this opportunity in front of me and I wanted to show the kids how I did what I was doing, I created a song. And again, it puts everything in perspective from my life, my own experiences, and through the systematic racism that was happening around me. And to be honest, if you want to know anything about Z, just listen to the song. Without further ado. Pops in jail, mom's at work, cousin's selling drugs, cousin's going berserk. One got kicked out, the other thing did the third song, shooting in the song, and it made me feel worse. I was 10, started writing to the pen. I was fat and bullied, I really didn't have no friends. I was lost and gone, sad thoughts in my head, rage, anger, pain, and a little devastation. I just need a way out. Ain't even must have numbers to explain now. Cause every time I spoke, man, I was pushed out. Had to tell a woman my little rap was brown. But I would never hack. Like how we get from London, get famous, I'm rapping. Everybody probably talking about nobody but that. Was up late every night. Mama used to say, please, come on, baby boy, you can't lean on me. Can't lean on me. Okay. All right. Little older now, city born a reservation. Making them it's hard out here for a native. Met fresh quest, told me we can make creations. That'll live forever and inspire generations. Starting to meet people from all different nations. From Asians, Somalians, and some Asians. Rap kid on the end, can you show me the way? I was at the club and they still told me I can make it. There's no time for you to change it. Started following the path of gang, banging, slanging. Lost a couple homies, started checking who was hanging in my circle. Since they took every side life as a virgin. Here's the name, Bigg Zee. That's me, a crazy addict, taking magic, please believe. With the drug
Changes life, and life is amazing. Now I'm teaching people instead of living so dangerous. I wanted to do good, but felt misunderstood. I was violent, angry, bound, patience to make a difference. That's all I want. So whenever I speak, you know I give it all I got. Me, I got dreams to bring my family to the top. Take R.I.P. I do this so free, dog. Me and my parents showed us how it helped out. Stop focusing on stacking money, coming in the club. Ain't worth nothing if you don't give it up when you count. And that's what counts. So that's all I'm about. Had to make a choice to decide to hold it throughout. Even though inside I still wanted to scream and shout. So if it weren't for y'all, it wouldn't be a Z. So if you got a problem, man, you can lean on me. Too deep. You can lean on me. You know the gun, can you see? Come on, baby, you can lean on me. You're the only one that I need. Come on, baby, you can lean on me. All is said and done, ain't it sweet? Come on, baby, you can lean on me. You're the one that I need. Hey, thank y'all for listening. I appreciate it. Okay.
You had us partying over here. I didn't know you could dance so good, see?
I try.
Hey, you're doing okay, my man. You are doing all right. Everyone is just blowing up the chat room on you. That is awesome. You know, we might have to see if we can get an encore of that later on. Yeah, later on, because the background was a little loud and we need to get somehow the mic a little closer to you. But we could hear it, we could feel you, you know, but I think a lot of us would enjoy hearing that one again. Someone said, oh, Kim says, I was just trying to stay in my seat. I loved it.
Thank you.
All right. So let's hold off on that. That would be a nice way to end the evening when the after hours chat is all over with. Roll out on Lean On Me would be really sweet, I think.
All right.
Okay, let's set it up for then, huh? Thank you so much, Zach. I'm so delighted, you know, Karim, you know, brought you into this with us. Speaking of Karim, it's you're up, my man. Anytime you're ready.
Yes, let's do it. So this song is actually with Bigg Zee and myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it was from even before 2018. So I don't know if I forget.
2014, 2015,
something like that. And yeah, so this song is talking about the condition of the world. You know, a little bit from my perspective and my understanding at that time. And you know, he talked about his. And interesting thing to me about it is, at the time, it felt very relevant, and then now it kind of still feels. We were just talking about it. It still feels pretty relevant. And anything else you wanted to say about it?
Honestly, just a personal reflection of everything around us, and it still reflects to this day, as he said.
And the song's called "Trouble and Toil."
And this is off of the Karim's album.
Sorry, what's that? Sorry,
I was just telling people this is on your album.
Oh, yes. Yes, thank you. It is, yeah. That's right.
All right.
Here we go.
Trouble and toil, blood in the soil, lights burn away in a piece of tin foil. Trouble and toil, wealth in the soil. Every move we make is a step to be. We watch as the fire grows higher. We see what we think through television wires and quiet. Get the screeching tires and fire. People are told they're real, but they liars. Ghetto politicians, and that's only from opposition. Native Bahá'í Christians, they compare precision. Is it worth a million to try kill a religion? The pictures of television, a laptop, I made a description based on 4 songs mission. Still can't tell if they're real non-fiction. The whole world's got trigger fingers itching. Listen, the whole point of view is missing. Looking to the river, see the water glisten. Just like that poor girl trying to find a politician. Hugging and kissing and trying to find out what she's missing. Blood the piston, trouble and toil. Blood in the soil. Lights burn away in a reason's in foil. Trouble and toil. Wealth in the soil. Every move we make is a step to be royal. Every move we make is a step to be royal. Chemical attacks and the strikes from Obama. It's hard to stay positive with all this global drama. And look at Syria, and it's mysterious. And if you like what you can call me delirious, but in the midst of it all, I can see the signs of peace. It doesn't matter if you're against the Middle East or against the U.S. and support the UN. The fact of the matter is that no one can pretend that we are not the limbs and the organs of one body, and together we are strong like the sun. So if one of us falls, that means all of us are done. Look at this playground, trouble and toil. Big bully's eyes bubbling with oil. Veto vote that so the treaty gets spoiled. Tell me how to grow peace in this GMO soil. How can our actions ever change form when the next generation of fathers can't be born? While our daughters wake up and look themselves in the eyes, and if they had the power to express, they say my self-worth has been sexualized. Trouble and toil, blood in the soil, lights burn away in a piece of tin foil. Trouble and toil, wealth in the soil. Every move we make is a step to be royal. Every move we make is a step to be royal. Clap with us now. Clap with us now. Hey, clap with us now. Hey, one more time, see? Trouble and toil, blood in the soil. Lights burn away in a piece of tin foil. Trouble and toil, wealth in the soil. Every move we make is a step to be royal. Every move we make is a step to be royal. Diane, that is some beautiful dancing. Who else has some dancing going on? How about Cynthia Phillips? Let's see it. That's beautiful. Oh, Kirk's got some moves. That's what we like to see. Robin Sue, nice smile. And Chuck, I see the head nodding there. Chuck Hendrickson, we see you. Kate's nodding. Clap one more time. Oh no, it's over. Thank you. Alright. I'm gonna leave the show to 3 now. Thank you, bro. Okay, so we hope you enjoyed that. And this is the next song here. So this one is it's called The Problem and the Paradox. And so I'm just gonna have a sip of water. That was a little more high energy than we actually practiced, but that was, I hope you enjoyed it. It was fun. So this song, it's really was inspired a moment when I was learning about this mineral called coltan. And as we know, the mining of this material has had a history of inhumane. Oh, there's Roya Bowman saying hi. How you doing? There's a history there. And sorry, I'm just gathering myself. But basically, I was researching about it, and it was interesting to me that this was clearly an issue of our world. But the thing that felt paradoxical to me was the only way that I was able to find out about this issue was using a device that was constructed with that mineral. And the only way that I discovered about it through that device was somebody else went there with a camera and took pictures. And in that camera, that same mineral was being used. So it's just this kind of concept that, yes, there are some deep issues, some deep problems in our world, but we're so connected that a lot of it is so paradoxical. It's like this weird conundrum that, it doesn't feel like there's a set ending to solve that problem, then solve that problem. It's all kind of just one motion, this idea of kind of oneness. So this is kind of about the confusingness of all that, and I hope you enjoy it. Can you tell me who decides if it's fair or not? So many bomb blasts, so the air is hot. More innocents killed, and I'm barely shocked. Distracted again by the problem and the paradox. been having visions where I'm scared to talk, cause I'm frozen in the moment, getting buried by the guap. This is just a problem in the paradox. I have religious visions that are scientific, where only godless business can define division, like the divine physicians who find suspicion to the signs they give it. Even the gifted minds are blindly rifted behind the veil of fake joy that is time specific, while living life confined to describing riches, but we are the richness. Because if God was a painter that could only paint perfect pictures, then we're the final image, because our angels and demons are intertwined with precision like a vine that's swinging. So still some powerless people pervert the lives of children as if their crimes are hidden. It's a paradoxical issue. These are just the signs and symptoms of a tribal wisdom that we take and make subscribe to villains. But a world where we are one is the finest vision. A world where we are one is the finest vision. Can you tell me who decides if it's fair or not? So many bomb blasts that the air is hot. More innocents killed and I'm barely shocked. Distracted again by the problem and the paradox. I've been having visions where I'm scared to talk, cause I'm frozen in the moment, getting buried by the guap. This is just a problem in the paradox. Consumption robots who stay trapped for long. They're trying to separate the people into allopathic vagabonds. That's like trying to sing peace in a battle song. But we are not robots, we are organic bonds. Materialism is the commonplace phenomenon, like a weak man perpetuating lies of pack and broad, or a farmer finding cattle gone at the crack of dawn in Saskatchewan. The soul is a thread we're hanging on. If there's an elephant in the room, then it's a mastodon from Babylon. If there's an elephant in the room, then it's a mastodon from Babylon. Can you tell me who decides if it's fair or not? So many bomb blasts that the air is hot. More innocents killed and I'm barely shocked. Distracted again by the problem in the paradox. I've been having visions where I'm scared to talk, cause I'm frozen in the moment, getting buried by the guap. This is just a problem in the paradox. The problem in the paradox. Snap your fingers, baby. Oh, Nason, that is beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful. Yeah. Thank you very much. So I do have a couple more, if that's acceptable and allowable. This next one is called Reach Out. And yeah, this really, I mean, the name, funny enough, is 2 words, reach out, but it kind of describes the vision of it, the meaning behind it. But the story, I guess, is I was traveling the country. I have this other thing that I do. It's called the Rap Camp, and I work with kids and youth, and I've been working across Canada, a little bit in the States, South Korea, and some Caribbean nations as well. And just in my travels, I kind of discovered that so many young people have some similar qualities. There's obviously some great stuff, talent and courage and all these amazing things, but also there was this darkness, this depression, sadness, hopelessness, confusion, all these different things, identity crisis, just everywhere. And so I just had a thought, like, you know, if each one of them reached out to each other, or if each generation reached out to each other, I felt like, you know, grandmas and grandpas have so much to offer these kids in terms of wisdom. And so, you know, it's just this idea, if we all were to reach out to each other just in our little neighborhoods, a lot of this could be not gone, I would say personally, but it would make it maybe a little easier to deal with, you know. And so that's kind of where this song came from. So this is Reach Out. And I'm going to do it I'm going to attempt to do it spoken word style. So let's see what happens. Freed from my subservience and subjugated turbulence, I took the earliest opportunity to be like Perseus. Sorry, one second. Freed from my subservience and subjugated turbulence, I took the earliest opportunity to be like Perseus.
So the next time that I'm looking for confirmations, I look up to the sky and I embrace the constellations. These words flow fresh from my mouth like I'm coughing mints. There is a higher power and it's dropping hints on how to reach spiritual opulence. The copy prints that box me in were trying to stop me since I broke free and saw the rays of the sunshine. But once you're found, you can never unfind. So breathe in, breathe out, and begin to reach out. I am, oh my God, but a tiny seed reaching out, shine your light on me. I am, oh my God, but a tiny seed reaching out, shine your light on me. I remember those times that I got cheated out, but now I'm a changed man, moving fast like a cheetah's mouth. My mistakes, they look small like snakes look to an eagle's snout. I'm a leader now. I'll give you something you can blast through your speakers now. I'll give you something that lasts, I'll send the beacon out. And when you hear it, don't fear it, believe it loud. We are not robots, we are the people now. You're better than the gossip that you tweet about. Nobility is yours, be it now. So breathe in, breathe out, and begin to reach out. I am, oh my God, but a tiny seed reaching out, shine your light on me. I am, oh my God, but a tiny seed reaching out, shine your light on me. This is my cognizant hypothesis, which you believe could be opposite. I believe in God and in his providence, I have confidence. All these broken promises in the metropolis are so bottomless. Living this synonymous life without consequence makes the populace so homogenous. Yet racism is so dominant. From the cowboy boots to the moccasins, fake tolerance is so prominent. It's an accomplishment to be honest with your consciousness and just honor it. The prophecies are fulfilled because Baha'u'llah is upon us now. I am, oh my God, but a tiny seed reaching out. Shine your light on me. Thank you very much. I see you holding up my latest album, Kate. That's so beautiful. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate that. I do have one last one, Sherilyn. You can let me know, should I do it or later?
Yeah, no, go ahead and do it. But let me just let people know that you'll be getting links to everyone's stuff and where you can get their albums and what have you. Okay, so that's going to go out as long as I got your email address.
Thank you so much, Sherilyn.
Sure.
And thank you, everybody. So this is the one that I'll close with. And so, yeah, I was talking earlier about my identity crisis and how hip hop was the tool that helped me express myself and rap. But really, when I found my identity, it was through the writings of Baha'u'llah. It was in the Baha'i faith that I found myself. And so that's who I am. I'm a Baha'i. And so I identify with that 100% over any culture that I'm a part of or not a part of. But rap is that medium through which I can process the world. So this piece is, I say that because this piece is directly influenced by, I know some of us here may not be Baha'is, so you kind of need to know a little context. Baha'is go on this special journey called a pilgrimage to Israel, to Haifa. And this is where Baha'u'llah, the founder of the faith, has been laid to rest. There's a shrine there. We consider it the most holy spot on earth. We pray to it every day. And so I went on this journey, on this trip, this pilgrimage, and I was praying in there, and it was just such a powerful moment for me when I was 17. So I wrote this after that experience. And it's not too long, it's a pretty short one. It goes like this. I opened up my heart so the Lord can envelop it. This is divine springtime and I choose to cherish it. I sing like a canary so my melodies embellish it with friendliness and charity and love and then some fellowship. I've recognized Baha'u'llah and been to where they buried him. I cried in his shrines where I prayed for my parents and I prayed for the world to break away from hate and arrogance. Science is advanced, but the soul is old carriages. See, I was lost in the music till I found a glimpse of this spiritual map like a round of fifths. Now I hear his voice and I love the sound of it. You see, the promised one has come. We're all surrounded by his countenance. I was searching through this earth for a truth that was concealed, and I found it in the words that Baha'u'llah revealed. I've walked on so many different paths, been to so many different places. I've learned so many different lessons, but seen so many similar faces. But it all fades to blackness when I fail to get the practice that I need to be the spiritual being he's seen in me since back when I was walking all alone, talking like I built this home, when it was the carpenter who made it all along. Praise God. I need to redefine my life. I'm living so raw because the flame of separation has consumed my heart. I'll follow you, my Lord. I'm ready to do my part. I'm ready to do your will. So here I am, my God. Thank you. I'm so happy to see some kids. Hello, young people. Much love to you. I'm not with my kids tonight, so I can be here. So it's great to see your faces, your beautiful faces. And real quick, I want you to try this. And by kids, I mean everybody. Here we go. Now try this one. Let's throw it all together. 4 beats. Here we go. 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, I took enough time. I'm fun with that.
Always the teacher, a teacher at heart. Thank you, Karim. That was wonderful. That was great. That was just great. I was wondering why you were doing that, where it was going to go. Once it picked up, it's like, okay, I got it now. Well, we finally come to our headliner for the evening, and that's Kirk Nugent. And he has several, well, he's going to speak for himself, so I'm not going to say anything because his work is going to speak for him. So let me just turn it over to you, Kirk.
Thank you, guys. Can you hear me? Can you hear me clearly?
I can.
Yes, okay, I'm getting ahead now. Before I even say anything, I mean, Milton, Bigg Zee, Karim, I want to perform. I mean, it was such a show. Wow, thank you guys so much. Sherlyn, thank you for putting this on. For everyone participating, I wanted to just share something with you. Milton did not forget his lines. As an artist, I'm going to tell you exactly what happened. When we rehearse at a certain pace. And I noticed he slowed everything down, so because there are other people on or older people, and he wanted you to get the words. So as you slow stuff down, your brain has memorized this poem for 20 years at a certain pace. So once you slow it down, you start losing where you're supposed to be. And that's exactly what happened. And I also realized that I might be going too fast. So I'm going to do the exact same thing Milton did and slow everything down. Not only am I going to do that, but I'm not going to, usually I get up and perform in just real high energy, but I'm going to slow it down so you can get the words. So unlike Milton, if I forget, I'm going to grab my book. So, so I'm going to start with this first piece. This is called I No Longer Write About Depression. And I No Longer Write About Depression is pretty much going to tell you everything about me from I was born until now. So that's my bio. That's usually I read a bio. And the poem says this. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they've done. First I was afraid, no doubt petrified. Reflecting my life, wondering just how I survived. I recall my childhood always feeling like I want to run away or commit suicide, always fearing having company because that's when I'd be stripped of my pride. Esteem tossed to the side as parents transform into Jekyll and Hyde. I recall being the best and brightest in school, winning full scholarships, awards, mad stuff, only to come home and feel like you're not good enough. I remember kneeling by my bed, praying to God for the end of my days, walking by the cemetery, envying the lucky bastard in the grave. I remember wanting out so badly that I wouldn't take my medicine for sickle cell, hoping to have a crisis and it would just kill me. I remember being unclothed and disrobed and stripped down to my little white Fruit of the Loom brief and being beaten until the blood broke freely from my skin. And as a child, trouble was something I was never in. My dad justified by saying responsibility he was teaching. He used all manner of electric wires to make sure that my 8-year-old skin stayed on fire. And by 9, I concluded that parents' love was just too much for any child to desire. And if you look into my eyes, it was obvious they had successfully extinguished my fire. But given a choice, if I had to choose, I would choose the beatings over the emotional abuse. Even though I can recall being beaten until my spirit laughed, no more, loved no more, cried no more, self-worth packed up and walked. Teachers would send for my parents asking what's wrong with Kirk. He's so bright, but he doesn't talk. Would you? After being beaten just about half to death because you forgot to feed the dogs? To this day, I can recall both parents' voices reminding me how much they regret bringing me into this world. And back then, I nurtured suicidal thoughts like Steinbeck nurtured the pearl. Sick of self had me laying in hospital beds pondering what's taking God so long to kill me. My parents are good Christians. I mean, my God, they deserve to be happy. I was sick of being stripped of my esteem, robbed of my self-worth, always feeling like an expense waiting to be disposed of, always feeling unworthy of. I felt no more needed than a pair of metal gloves, and I tried to mask the pain by acting like I wasn't fiending for their love. But who was I fooling? I wanted it more than OJ wanted an alibi. And in the process of trying to gain their acceptance, I inadvertently commit spiritual suicide. But parents don't care. They found new and improved ways to batter and bruise me, humiliate and refuse me. Mom did the church thing on Sunday. Dad read the Bible just about daily, and I hated dogs and Christianity. Lived in a world of illusions and hypocrisy. By the time I discovered this poetry, depression was in bed with me. Loneliness slept with me. Unworthiness got dressed with me. The pen and paper fought to maintain my sanity, for my spirit had long abandoned me. Low self-esteem was nothing new, and eye contact was just something that I didn't do. I mean, God forbid I had to talk to you. Kept my eyes focused on my shoe. Plastic smiles conveniently constructed to mask internal rain. And all I wrote about was depression and pain. See, I was walking that thin line between being suicidal and homicidal. I had a 4.5 and a Glock 9 and knew someone pushed me, we would both lose our minds, because I wasn't trying to change my luck. I was young, black, armed, dangerous, thinking leaving this world in Gunsmoke would be glorious. Back then, me and my Jamaican clique were redefined the term notorious, because we were ready to die and these gang recruiters were adoring us. But even toughest gang member knew we were crazy Jamaicans and they best not be provoking us. Before you could say the words racial profile, I matured to the age where one finally becomes aware of racism. Now my anger, hatred, and frustration grew to another level. Convinced that God was against me, I was determined to team up with the devil. I would watch nightly news reports of police brutality and fuel my rage. Was it long before me and the devil was on the same page? I mean, totally in sync. And my only goal before I died was to murder an entire precinct. I went against the grain, fought against the norm, got excited thoughts of putting holes in these blue uniforms. See, I was sick of watching the oppressors wrapping noose around the necks of the oppressed. I was tired of being the victim, tired of being the oppressed, tired of being the helpless. I wasn't looking for that Dr. King, we shall overcome type justice. Now I was livid, my guns were furious, and the devil was like, Kirk, we can do this. But God has a funny way of molding the future. Found out I was soon to be a father, determined this lifestyle could go no further. I remember being in the living room, looking in my son's eyes, thinking, I don't care what the psychiatrist or psychologist or psychoanalyst writes, this cycle of abuse dies tonight. I vowed to him, I'll never shed your blood, nor intentionally will I bring a tear to your eye. And you will know that you're loved from the day you're born until the day you die. Gave him my name, which was a selfish thing to do. But for once in my life, I wanted to hear a parent say the words, Kirk, I love you. So who knew that it would take a baby to change my life? Who knew that it would take a child to change the way that I write? Because I no longer write about depression, because through my son I found myself. I no longer write about depression because Kirk don't get depressed. This world can't make me stress, perturbed, perplexed, anguish, or distress. With the obstacles of this world, I'm neither moved nor impressed. My God has found and delivered me from all my fears, and a well of hope He's transformed those years of tears. Yes, He was there when no one called, no one came, no one cared. And if I had to do it all over again, if He placed me in the fire, put my head to the gun, I wouldn't change a single thing, because I love the person I've become. I no longer write about depression. My spirit can never be eaten by flesh. The people's poet is not the devil's conquest. I've got a story to tell, and through it I've resurrected many souls from the dead. So if spiritually you're empty, then tell the world I've got bread. I no longer write about depression. I let my soul manifest through the cuckoo's nest to the litmus test. I'm here to testify, so can I get a witness? I'll place fear and doubt in a cardiac arrest, pull faith, hope, and confidence from my war chest. My spirit has returned and vowed never again to be oppressed. I no longer write about depression. Instead, I strapped on persistence as my life vest, and I'm heading north by northwest, and I dare depression to run contest. I've dropped the burdens I've been carrying around for years, lift my eyes up to the hills and declared, regardless of what negativity parents had to share, I am worthy of being here. My son has taught me how to love and how to live through grace. I have risen, I have nothing but love to give. My past is buried in the past, and from this day forth I shall live. I no longer write about depression because by God I've learned how to forgive. Whew. Okay, so that was Feel Your Soul. Thank you. So that was that piece, right? I no longer write about depression. And my son really came and changed my perspective and made me realize that, and before I'm going further, this is no disrespect to my parents. I'm not trying to embarrass them. What I'm trying to do is put the story out there so other people can heal. As Black men, we don't talk about our trauma. That's a no-no. So when you approach the stage and you're naked and unashamed, you give other people permission to heal. And that's all this is about. To have a safe space where we can heal and bring our traumas to the forefront so we can look at it. So after my son was born, that poem, by the way, was written about 29 years ago. So, and I've been performing for years. I perform in colleges. That's what I do. I'm a speaker in the college market. And for the past 20 years, that's what I've been doing. So as I start focusing on human beings, and I realize that a lot of time when we act out, it's not because we're evil people. We're acting out from a lens of unhealed trauma. And it's said that if you don't heal your trauma, if you don't heal the things that hurt you, you'll bleed all over people that never cut you. And I've noticed that when I interact with other human beings and they act out, it's just, there's a trauma, there's a hurt that they're going through, and chances are they never had an opportunity to address it. So this other piece I'm going to do is called The Ultimate Answer. And the reason why the piece is called The Ultimate Answer is because whatever the question is, pay attention to what I'm saying. Whatever the question is, this is the answer, the ultimate answer. And I wrote this after, I started writing about police brutality, all the different stuff I was dealing with when I came to America, because it might sound strange to you guys. I came to America at age 15, but I didn't know I was Black until I came to America. The kid that sat next to me in Jamaica had blonde hair and blue eyes. Didn't know he was white. He was just my best friend, Mark. When I came to America, everything was colored in black and white, no pun intended. And my Black skin now was an outcast. And the rage that I felt from just people talking to me like I'm stupid, like if a word has more than 2 syllables, I'm not supposed to understand it. And I went to a school in Irvington High, which was all Black. And then that's my freshman and sophomore years. Then my junior and senior, I went to Milburn High, which is 6 miles up the school, but up the road. That was the best high school in New Jersey. But on the white school that I went, I was the only Black kid in the junior, senior year. The white school that I went to, the campus was like a college campus. The Black school that I went to in Irvington, the campus was like a prison. You went in, they locked the doors behind you, and you need a monitor to walk through the hallway. So I realized that America was just colored in 2 different shades. And even on my way to school as a senior, the cop would always pull me over because I did not belong in Milburn, Short Hills. That was a very wealthy community. And the harassment, so I was introduced to racism at a very early age, and it was very shocking. But as I started to heal, I realized that, a lot of times we just need to heal as a nation. And I'm going to do this piece. It's called The Ultimate Answer. There was a time when all I wrote about was police brutality. There was a time when I picked up the pen and rebelled against the sins of society. I was just sick of the hypocrisy. My mission was to tear down this dynasty, these punk politicians who kept jacking me, kept playing us like they're so wise, and all I want to do was write the words to bring about their untimely demise. My pen spoke in violent tones as I slaughtered them on the microphone. But it's been a while since I've written with such anger, because spiritually I am growing much stronger, and the smoke and the mirror that is in place in front of humanity no longer real to me. The illusions no longer my reality. Now I have Jamaicans walking up to me saying, yo, I remember when you used to speak out against the unpopular truth that was deep my youth, but now it's like you're gone soft on me because all you want to write about is spirituality. But I've observed this world of ours, and I've found that it's all vanity. It's all an illusion to keep us vibrating on this lower reality. And whatever I give my attention to eventually manifests. So from this day forth, God as my witness, I will only give my best. I'm not concerned about the productivity of your oil fields, but I'm concerned about the pain that this child feels from your backdoor congressional deals. And I'm concerned when this soldier bleeds. And why is it that on CNN, the story of the lowest vibration always leads? When the bombs drop, who will take care of the needs of the refugees? Who will bring hope and empathy to the ones who have to flee? Lord, I just want to be a better person in this society. I just want to write the words that bring peace to humanity, because once again in my life, I am having a moment of clarity. And between the physical and the spiritual, I am here to bridge the disparity. But where do I find the words to remind a sleeping nation that we're all one? And how do I explain to extremists who would kill me in the name of Allah that, dude, I am your brother? How do I explain to these so-called leaders that if you're a leader, then by God, go ahead and lead, but understand that you can never bomb for peace, and capital punishment can never avenge the deceased? And are there words that can remove generations of hate coursing through religious DNA to a people who bow down and say to the God of Abraham, I am yours and you are mine? How do I let them know that Israel is no more sacred than Palestine? And your geographical location doesn't necessarily make you divine, but religious arrogance will indeed make you blind to the divinity of all mankind. How do I explain to this young Islamic brother who's gunning for martyrdom? He's strapped with shrapnel, C4, and then some, about to board an Israeli bus because he's been programmed to thinking that doing this is a must in order to immediately get to the paradise and enjoy the services of 72 virgins in the afterlife. How do I explain that it's all in vain? How do I bring sanity to a nation that has gone insane? How do I explain that there's an unseen hand manipulating our differences and we're all falling for it? Because at one point we used to speak hate, now we live it. So now I watch every group praying to a different God who's allegedly up above, and his wavering philosophy seems to cater to their ideology like a glove, and they all seem to miss the point that the answer is always love. Thank you so much. I'm gonna take a sip and why is the story of the little, no doubt. Thank you. So this is new for me. And what I mean by this is new for me, I'm used to having an audience and I give the energy and I get it back. And then now I just see the faces like, oh my God. But anyway, we're going to keep moving. So, okay, this other poem, the last poem I'm going to do, maybe for the night, I mean, we'll do later, but as far as my set is concerned, is called I Need You to Remember. And the whole concept of remembering, yes, I'm asking you to recall something. I need you to remember, so to recall. But also, if you think about your hand, the fingers, the 5 fingers of the hand are members of the hand. So when I say I need you to remember, I need you to reconnect with the community called humanity. So that's what I need you to remember it's about. Not only to recall some information, which I'm asking you to do as well, but I'm also asking you to recollect some information. And this poem I usually perform at a very fast pace, but I'm going to slow it down. I'm actually might have to just read it from my book because I want you guys to get the questions. They're so important. Thank you for sharing. Okay, no doubt. You're welcome. I'll read the comments later. So it says, and I wrote this when I was 30. So that's why it says, I've been 3 decades in the darkness, 3 decades in the wilderness, 3 decades of amnesia, and now I'm beginning to remember. I know you're thinking that we haven't met. Don't get too perplexed, but hear me before you step. When I say, my God, you look familiar. I am beginning to remember that we're born of light, created to shine long before infinity could tell time, and we cannot be denied. So now I'm beginning to shed this programming. I am beginning to realize that these people that I hate, I don't really know them, but it's a patriotic thing to do. So now I'm beginning to move away from manipulation towards self-actualization, towards wisdom and inner peace in the turbulent seas like an absence of the breeze. And I am beginning to like this energy. I am beginning to realize that there's no separation between God and me. So now I'm beginning to be like a tree. For no tree has branches so foolish as to fight among themselves. And we're all branches of the same tree called humanity. And I need you to remember. Now I'm beginning to straighten my back, raise up off my knees. My connection to sun, moon, and star get decreed like I was Cherokee. Recognizes oneness of spirit outside his teepee. And for the first time in my life, I am free. How could I have been so shallow as to wage war against my shadow? Born of the same spirit, just different faces. But now I'm beginning to remember that the fight is not against flesh and blood, but spiritual wickedness in high and low places. I am beginning to remember that my free will cannot be bought. I'm a member of the ground crew sent to stop the onslaught. So no longer shall I major in victimology opposed to opportunity, not when I was born with a winning credential, a spirit that's celestial. So today I'm like a team of Army Rangers, and even though we're so-called strangers, not one soul get left behind. So the question is, can these bones live? And without a shadow of a doubt, I assure you that the answer is affirmative. Oh, ye of little faith, you were born to win, destined to be great. What comfort do you find in these aches and pain? Why do you endorse a crying game? Why do you deny that you're a reflection of the Most High? And why do you allow yourselves to be manipulated into shame? Come on, think. It is important that you remember. For everything in our lives, we're responsible. So my dear friend, is it possible that the reason we're dissatisfied with our solution, impatient with our condition, is because we've been asking the wrong questions? Those who dance are considered insane by those who can't hear the music, and volunteer victims soon grow sick of a life that's all too basic. Your light, vibrating consciousness. So why do you choose to cooperate with this wickedness? Why live your life trying to please human beings who know nothing about being human? Because if they did, it would be understood that the true meaning of compassion is without ridicule, allowing a man the ability to pursue his passion, without tyranny, affording a woman the opportunity to manifest her destiny, to dream the impossible dream, to shoot for the moon, to live among the stars. Within the questions lies the answer to all the concerns of your heart. And it is critically important that you find peace long before you're deceased. So forgive my fender bender, this mental forgive my intrusion, this mental fender bender, but now more than ever, I need you to remember. They've rolled the dice and now your life is at stake. Whether you ride or die depends on your ability to stay awake, AKA your emotional maturity. But ladies and gentlemen, without the questions, there can be no clarity. I'm talking about a commitment to total responsibility. A lack thereof places your life in jeopardy. But unlike Alex Trebek, tonight I am giving you the questions. Hopefully they'll cut through the upholstery, penetrate deep into the extrasensory. Like a brain on a treadmill, I am trying to jog your memory. So help me help you escape this penitentiary. First question is, who's in charge of your destiny? Can someone actually make you mad? Or did you choose to linger in resentment? Are you loving everything that you do? Or is this the life your parents prescribed for you? Your job, is that your passion being manifested on the physical scene, or are you just building someone else's dream? I hope I didn't lose you, but within the answers to those questions lie the direct quality of your future. So it is critical that you remember. Do you believe that someone else can complete you? Or there's any human being above or beneath you? Who besides yourself can break your heart? Victor or victim? Who chooses your path? Everything is a choice. Are you aware of that as yet? And would you be mad at me if I told you that no one can make you angry? You chose to be upset. The challenges of life are here to make us better, not bitter. Did you realize that everyone that you encounter is your teacher? To balance the equation, you become their teacher in turn, and the lesson repeats until the lesson is learned. So who's in charge of your happiness, your loneliness, your emptiness? Most of your words are senseless, and someone else's opinion of you is none of your business. So why do you choose to sing along with the giving chorus? What gives your life purpose? When did you become so pacified, and what will it take for you to be satisfied? Do you know how much I love you? Of course not. I can't tell you that. What if you don't love me back? I'd rather, such a paradox, but I'd rather wait until you're laying in a mahogany box. Such a paradox, but isn't that how the script is usually read? So the question is, do you honor the living as passionately as you mourn the dead? Remember when you would leap and grow your wings on the way down? What happened to that? Remember when you used to live in the moment? Of course not. You were only 2 then, and since then you were trained to repress who you are, your sense of adventure. But this poem wouldn't be so long if it wasn't important that you remember. When was the last time you did something for the first time? Better yet, how much quiet time do you set aside to deprogram your mind? Remove the blindfold and behold, you're so much more than you've been told. You're like an emperor who chooses a panhandle like the sun, believing it were a mere candle. You were born blessed, never cursed, that you behave like the ocean dying of thirst. But I can feel your spirit now. You're tired. You want to put an end to all this illusion, delusion, confusion. You want the chaos to cease. You just want peace. So now you can no longer ignore that voice in your core telling you that this life, it just has to be about something more. And just like you, I don't want no enemies. I want to sit in the presence of a loving family, one called humanity, that's dipped in spirituality with a sense of sensibility. But they're feeding us complexities, stereotypes, and warlike theories, and we're oblivious to the fact that mentally we're chained in slavery. How could we be so blind? That is a question that frustrates me. But I guarantee you this, if tonight we refrain from spiritual suicide, starve the ego until it's deceased, then tonight the genocide will cease. Because just like it requires billions of pebbles for a mountain to be constructed with ease, so is world peace for a mountain to be constructed with ease. So is world peace constructed by billions of souls with inner peace. Now, do you understand why it's important that you remember? Thank you so much. So yeah, that's it for me. So yeah, I appreciate you guys so much, and I had so much fun here doing that. And this, I feel like we're in a community, and in this community, we're a small group, but just the light we're shining, we can go out and touch so many others and heal. We don't have to go out and protest and march and yell and scream. If that's not our thing, that's not our thing. But the light that we shine, everyone you come in contact with, you can make a huge difference. And that's what we're here to do, just shine that light and be gentle with ourselves while we're gentle with each other. So I'm gonna turn it back over to Shirley. I appreciate you guys so much, and I enjoyed this, and we gotta do this more time. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirk. Man, oh man. What do you say after that? What can you possibly say?
Oh, somebody's asking me, somebody's asking me the title of my book.
Yeah,
can I mention that, Cheryl?
Yes, absolutely. Go
Okay,
ahead.
the first book that I had where I no longer write about depression is called The Sound of Melanin. But the book that you guys probably really want to get is called Answer the Call. That's where all the spiritual stuff is. And this is all a book of poetry. And then my last book that I just recently wrote, is called From Depression to Destiny. And this is a novel about going from depression, for me, is the lowest point in life, and destiny is where you belong. So it's not about depression per se, but it's from being at the lowest level to the highest level of consciousness that you can go. And Cheryl will give you the link. Everything's on my website. It's my name, KirkNugent.com. And I'll see you guys. We will talk more, but Cheryl will give you everything. But those are my books, my 3 books. You can find them on Amazon as well, but if you buy them from me, I'll make a little more money. Amazon take a lot of my change. I don't like that.
Yeah, buy them direct, folks. And I do have links for everybody, for Milton, Zach, Kirk, Karim, for everyone's stuff. And as we were putting this together, I said, you guys have to give me your lyrics so I can make those available to everyone that's on the call. So you'll get those by email in a couple of days, and hopefully we'll have the recording up within the week, let's say. Hopefully sooner than that. You know, we'll see what we can do. I'm the bottleneck on that end of things. So yeah, that was just absolutely amazing. Right now it is, man, 9:32. Good Lord. How'd that happen? Now, see, that's what happens when people with pure intentions come together and consult and collaborate on doing something. And that's exactly what's happened, you know, with these guys, you know, wanting to share, you know, their messages with us and uplift us, you know, enlighten us. You know, on the one hand, we could, you know, I could say, yeah, we're happy and excited because those are all the things we believe. You know, this, you know, it's just stated in different ways that come at us and that are re-energizing, you know, because it's just coming from another angle. The brain's processing it in a different way. And it's just so wonderful to know that there are friends out there, you know, in the wider community, like Kirk, like Zach, you know, who are engaged in this work as well, you know, really, which is bottom line is the upliftment, you know, of humanity. And that's what we're all about, creating that, you know, the ever advancing civilization. And racism is definitely in the way. You know, it's definitely in the way. So we can take a break for like 1 or 2 minutes if people want to, you know, get up, maybe use the restroom or something, and then come back. We can just have some open-ended discussion and, you know, talk with the artists, any questions you have, comments you want to make or share, and any other performances maybe we could squeeze out of them, you know. So how's that sound, friends? You want to come back like in 2, 3 minutes? Or people just want to keep going? Show of hands, who wants to stay and keep going? Raise a hand. Physically raise a hand so I can see. Okay, hang on, keep the hands up because not everyone has a thing on there. Hands up, hands up. Okay. Well, I kind of think the hands up have it. So let's go ahead and Nason, can you take the friends off of mute? Now that's not going to put everyone automatically, that's not automatically going to unmute everyone, but if I call on you, you know, you'll be able to go ahead and come on. So, and I'm going to do this screen 1 and screen 2 to kind of make it fair. Okay, I've got 2 screens where I can see everybody. So on screen 1, who has a comment or a question they'd like to share? Just throw a hand up. Anybody? Okay, nobody yet. So let's see who we've got on screen 2. Question or comment on screen 2? Oh, you guys don't know which is screen 1 and screen 2, do you?
Yes,
Shoot, that's right. Okay, doggone it. That's right, everybody's screens are different. Oh, okay, so Tony James. Hey, Tony, come on, unmute yourself.
Hi there.
Hi, Tony.
Hi, thank you so much for this evening. I told a friend about this and then I forgot about it. And when I called her, she said, it's really good. You got to come. I've been trying to get you to come on. So I wanted to thank you. And I would like to hear from Milton because I didn't hear him to begin with.
Okay, okay.
If anybody's going to do anything more, and I want to thank Kirk for, I mean, and the other guy that was with Nabil, I forget I forget his name too.
Right.
Karim
and Zach.
I didn't think I liked rap or hip hop, but I liked what I heard so far tonight. It's wonderful.
Yeah, it's pretty good
and
stuff.
I want to do more of this race unity thing. It's wonderful.
Awesome, awesome. Who's the friend that or how'd you find out about it, Tony?
Well, actually, Janine Pullman sent me a
Oh, yeah.
link,
Okay, sure. Yeah, I know
and
Janine.
and I shared it with Charlotte Greenfield, and she's the one that said, "Where are you? I've been texting
Okay.
you. Where are you? Where are you?"
All right, nice. I see Charlotte. Hey, Charlotte, how you doing? Thank you, Tony, for those comments. And this
And
is,
I don't know if Janine's here tonight, but she told me about this.
she is. I believe she is. I think she's
I think
iPad
she's on.
104.
I think she's iPad 104. Hi, Janine.
Yep, she's here. She's here.
Okay, so
Awesome.
that's all I got. I don't really have
Okay.
any questions right now because I didn't get here at the beginning. But if you do
Okay.
more of these Power of the Word, I want to come back.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. And you got to come back.
And I sent my email to you in the chat. So
Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah.
so thank you. It's nice to meet you, Charlene.
You
I'm
too. You too.
enthusiastic. I'm enthused. I'm excited. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. That's incredible. Thank you so much. Okay, Jessica, someone had their hand up. Who was it? Milton was telling me. Jessica has her hand up. Jessica, you want to come on?
Sure, Charlene, thank you so much. First of all,
There
thank you
you
for
are.
this amazing evening. Super happy to be here. I have a very specific question for Kirk. In one of your poems, it might have been the last one, you said something about, if I caught it, you said something about the age of 2. And is that correct?
Yes,
First of all,
I
yeah,
said, do you remember when you used to live in the moment? Of course not. You were only 2 then.
right. And
And
then you
since
said,
then, you were trained to repress who you are.
right, perfect, excellent. So this was so profound because it's something that I've been taught. That literally we switch off at that age. And you can see it with kids' eyes even. They're like, bright lights are shining and then all of a sudden they dim. So I just would love you to speak a little bit more about that and where you got that from and why you write about it.
Absolutely. I love humanity. I study humanity and I love kids. Not in a U.S. congressman type of way, but I think you understand what I'm saying. So my son, I observed my son, and I gave my son a lot of love, not spoil him. He a lot of love, and I noticed other kids around him. Right around 2, that light goes out of their eyes, a curiosity. And as I started reading different psychology books, I realized that nothing a child wants more than the parent's love. And the parent is trying to protect the child. So the parent will say stuff like, don't do that. And the child interprets it as every time I try to have a new experience, mommy or daddy gets upset. And when mommy and daddy gets upset, what the parents does is withdraw the love from the child, which is very traumatic. So after about the age of 2, 3, the child just conforms and he becomes or she becomes this drone like everyone else. He's now colored in the line. He's having the same lunch, having the same thoughts. And you kill, not kill, but you suppress the God that's in the child. Because all of us came here to do something different. We're different puzzle pieces that fit perfectly. But we've been programmed to behave like each other. We've been programmed to act like each other, dress like each other, and we lose our sense of identity. So the fact is, when in the poem, when I said, I need you to remember, do you remember when you used to live in the moment? At 2, when you meet a child before 2 years old, you'll meet a child, excuse me, Joe. You'll meet a child and the child is crying. You see the tears running down the child's eye. And you go, peekaboo. And all of a sudden the child, they start laughing. They're in the moment. Now us at 40 and 50, we still mad at something that happened when we were 13. We're no longer in the moment. We're back there. And when you talk to most adults, you realize that's a 12-year-old with a repressed trauma memory. You're not dealing with an adult. You're dealing, when you go on Facebook and social media and someone make a comment and someone else is triggered by it, you're not dealing with an adult. You're dealing with a child at 7 or 8 that had some trauma and they were stuck there and they just grew over the years, but they haven't healed that, and you cannot grow beyond your unhealed trauma. So that's what we're doing. So with all these poems that we're doing, we're saying, listen, let's find a way to heal. Let's find a way. Do you realize that no one can make you angry? You chose to be mad. Most people won't get that. They're like, no, this fool made me angry. He said this, and they don't realize it. They missed it. So until we can go back within and say, well, why did that comment upset me so much? Why am I so angry about it? Why does this stranger opinion mean so much? We're still disconnected. And that's what the poem is asking. Get back to being connected. I don't have to get on social media and argue with everybody about a point. Everyone is open to have their own opinion. I just need to move in a place of love, and I'll attract more loving people. And the people who are not of my vibration will eventually fade to the side. And so I hope that answers your question. I want to say one more thing. A lot of people are emailing me privately, and it's moving so fast, I can't read everything. But I'm open. So Sherilyn is going to give you my information, and you guys can call me or email me. That's fine. I'm open to whatever you want to reach out about. But everything is scrolling so fast, I can't get to it. But I hope that answers your question, Jessica. Thank you.
You're on mute. You're on mute, Sherilyn.
Thank you. Winnie, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I love what you were saying about children by the time they're two, how much we've programmed into them. And I've been seeing a lot of little clips that people like to put on YouTube showing how cute chimpanzees and so forth are with their kids, and they'll comment, they're so human. And somebody made a beautiful comment. They said, no, we should be more like them. And I remember an experience I had a chance at a conference I was at to visit the zoo in Sydney. And they were explaining to us about the chimpanzees. The young chimpanzee has a white rump. And as long as that chimp has the white behind, the adults do not interfere in any way. They allow it to explore, to get to know its world. They'll interfere, they'll reach in if the chimp is putting himself in danger. But otherwise, they have all this time to observe adult behavior. And by the time that white spot is gone, then they expect them to have adult behavior. But the chimp has had the opportunity to learn by observation, not by restriction. And I always thought that was a great approach to children.
That's very interesting. And it does sound like a great approach. Something to think about. Rob and Sue. Unmute, Rob.
Yep, I'm sorry. Sue is here, but she's just out of camera range. My question is more a technical one. The pace of rap is extremely rapid, and you were gracious enough to slow down your words. For those of us for whom rap is not a genre that we hear a lot, I'm curious to understand why the pace of rap is so fast. It does remind me of listening to Dizzy and to Bird with their early bebop, that same staccato, rapid fire musicianship. That's a venue that I relate to because I love jazz, but I'm curious. I'd like to hear.
Okay, I'll start. Thank you for the question, Rob. Because as a matter of fact, I kept my computer on the full screen so I could see everyone while I was performing. And while everyone else was performing, I saw how intently you were listening. One of the reasons why it's so fast, that pace, everything is energy. So we have a drum beat in Africa, where we come from Africa, and that energy gets us in a certain spirit, in a certain move. It gets certain things moving in our body. So it moves at that energy. As a matter of fact, you remember, or I don't know if you know, but during the days of slavery, the drum was beaten out of us. We were not allowed to beat the drum because that drum summoned something, that tempo, it summoned something within us. It summoned our courage. So part of the pace is from that rapid fire. Now there's another marketing value for the rapid fire for me and other poets. What we do, and this is inside information, Rob, so I don't know about giving you all of this, but
well, Well, I have to tell you, I am a drummer, so I can
Okay, so
relate to the
okay.
drumming and the rhythm, and I definitely get into that.
You got it. Now, from a marketing perspective, here we go. From a marketing perspective, we go fast because when you hear something, you're like, oh my God, that was good. But before you could digest it, that other thing was good, and that other thing was good. Now, guess what, Rob? You got to buy the book.
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
You got to get the CD.
Gotta get the CD, right?
Yeah, so that's part of it. But again, it's in our DNA from the drums, and we move at that rapid pace. It energizes something within us. And then not only does it energize, it goes out into the people listening, and they hit that energy back by the applause. And it's just almost, I don't even want to say, but it's almost like a sexual encounter. It's an exchange.
There you go.
Very physical.
No, there's the element that I mentioned earlier about hip hop, that is the B-boy and the B-girl and the movement, the idea of the body movement. And dancing had a lot to do with what was going on in the early days of the hip hop music explosion. The beats per minute were moving at a rate, and when the DJ would play the track and it would help move the crowd, the MC or the orator who was speaking the lyrics would have to get the cadence to ensure that he went along with the beat. And if the beat was up tempo, the lyrics had to be that way. So you had a lot of different guys that would express themselves with a rhythm to the rhyme that was just basic. Some of the earliest hip hop songs, many of you guys may recall, Rapper's Delight. I said a hip hop, the hip to the hip hop, and you don't stop the rocket to the bang bang boogie, you up the boogie to the rhythm of the boogity beat. That was that flow. And then there were times when it evolved as you had Run DMC, it's tricky to rock a rhyme, that's right on time, it's tricky, and all of that. And then, I really love the brother Rakim, from Eric B. and Rakim, who would Let It Be Known. And his flow and the pattern that he said, he borrowed from his dad's jazz, intonations. And I came in the door, I said it before, I never let a mic magnetize me no more, so it's biting me and fighting me, inviting me to rhyme. I can't hold it back. I'm looking for the line, taking off my coat, clearing my throat. The rhymes will be kicking until I hit my last note, all of that. So with the spectrum of being able to express self, each individual pick the pattern. I love what Bigg Zee and Karim do. Their flow moves me, their cadence and the pattern and the syncopated elements necessary for them to flow. Oh my God, it's just something that resonates with something inside me, and everybody will get it. So there's that. And like Kirk said, the commercialization of it, the marketing part, we say a lot of stuff, put some punchlines in it. Like, wait, what did they say? Oh man, I missed it on the radio. I got to go buy the album. So
yeah. Well, it's interesting because the dancing I could relate to because I had two children that did hip hop, and when they do dance competitions, the hip hop always brought down the house. I remember there was a group of kids from the south side of Chicago, and they were black, Hispanic, white. They all came up and they stole the show, and they were just wonderful. So the rhythm and the movement, taken together, it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. But as an old fart, I'm so glad you slowed it down. So blessings on you all.
Truly appreciate it, Rob. I just want to let you know that your children didn't necessarily do hip hop. People who can perform in hip hop are hip hop. It's a culture. It's part of.
I hear you.
I hear you. They're not excluded. They're not. We hear people about cultural appropriation, and I don't like the term.
And that was it.
I don't think that's what's going on at all times. I don't even like that term because I know as a Baha'i that we're all one, and the idea of there being separations based on cultural expression is just a matter of it's a part of the construct that is a byproduct of white supremacy and the fact that there's these segmented elements that keep us segregated and don't let us get to know that we are one. But in time, programs such as this and others that are going on right now in this atmosphere are going to help bring that down and help bring us all to a closer and more united situation in this country and around the world.
Awesome. Tony has her hand up again, and then someone else who I'm looking for. Tony, did you want to say something again?
Well, yes. I didn't really have a chance to formulate my question, but now I haven't listened to rap or hip hop. And the reason I didn't have to do with that it was done with people of color so much as it was the lyrics. First of all, like the gentleman that just asked the question, it was too fast and I couldn't understand the lyrics. And then they were so negative. It seemed like it was derogatory and that sort of thing. And so I closed off that part of myself to not embrace that music. Now I have a son that's 50 and he likes rap and hip hop and heavy metal and all that stuff. And so my question really is, and maybe this is a loaded question or maybe it's an erroneous question, but is all rap and hip hop, based on what I heard tonight, probably not, but is it all negative or has it had a transition? Did it start negative and then it got positive? And did I miss something?
I'll tell you this in answer to that question. The foundational elements of hip hop, if you look it up and research it, and I'll share it, peace, unity, love, and having fun. This is in the historical record when you go back and really look at it. In the 70s, what they were saying was the prevailing energy surrounding the cultivation of this culture and all of the art forms that came out of it were peace, unity, love, and having fun. And there's songs about it, the Africa Bambaataa and the Almighty Zulu Nation. And somebody asked in the chat privately for more information on the history of hip hop, and that's a place that you can go to ZuluNation.com, and they have a huge wealth of information to talk to you about where the culture started, who the founding fathers are, how it evolved, how individuals got involved with it from all ethnic backgrounds and all nationalities to help make this culture come to be something that was the embodiment of what was needed at a time when the youth in the society during that era and every era that it evolved into, the youth have always needed a way to express themselves. Because like Kirk said, at young age, this system and this society has taught us to suppress who we truly are. And there's some political elements to that I always speak on when I talk. And I talk about the fact that in this country, we've had a counterintelligence program. And what that counterintelligence program was designed to do was to suppress the coming of the Black Messiah. So, when you look at the historical record, that the FBI implemented this as the top law enforcement agency in the country. And they did things to ensure that our divinity, our inner divinity was not realized, so that if we know as Baha'is that Baha'u'llah told us that noble hath I created thee, why hast thou abased thyself? Well, that abasement wasn't, directly from within us. That negativity that you saw, it was something that came afterwards. I'm 53 years old, and when it hit us, it was just a bright light shining, a light on the path to the gates of gold. And that's what we were looking to try and figure out a way to get out of the slums, get out of the ghettos, get out of poverty. If it can help us get a bit of fame. First we wanted some fame, then we get the money, then we get some power, and we can make some changes and make a difference. And so it was all of those things, but like Kirk said earlier, when the commercial aspect became something that was the attention of the corporation, and the corporate interest looked at what was going on. And I'll say this to you, when we were doing rap and hip hop on the East Coast here in the tri-state area, it was predominantly, as Kirk said, uplifting. There was a Black Watch movement. There was the native tongues that included Queen Latifah and the Lords of the Underground. These are Jersey artists that are coming to mind first, but then you've got the Poor Righteous Teachers, another Jersey artist, A Tribe Called Quest, all of the folks. The Rappers Delight came from Sugar Hill Gang, and they were all positive and having fun. And even Will Smith, the Fresh Prince, all his songs were about upliftment and positive energy. And then what happened was the guys on the West Coast started, having the resources so that they can produce rap music, because it had taken them over too. But they started to do as we was doing, which was depicting what was going on outside their doors. And since the West Coast had been inundated with this gang culture, that's what started to come about. And that gang culture seemed to be what fascinated the hip hop audience, the commercial hip hop audience, who during the time that it started to grow was predominantly young white people, as far as the economics of it all. And once the young white folks started to get involved, it seemed like they had this hunger and desire to hear more about the gangster culture. And so once the gangster culture, like the NWAs came about and the Snoop Dogs, they were rapping about what they were experiencing over there. And they had that gang culture. They had drug deals, and they were the ones who had the identity to be very abased in their presentation of who they were. They were the ones, like Kirk said, in the East Coast, we were kings and queens. We had Africa continent medallions that we wore. We rocked the red, black, and green colors of the African American flag. We were praising and making songs that uplifted our heroes, our musical heroes. James Brown was always sampled. Parliament Funkadelic was always sampled. And these were the things that we were doing to express ourselves creatively. We didn't have instruments. They started to close in the East Coast of New Jersey. They started to close all the music stores down. You couldn't buy an instrument. So our kids couldn't learn to play instruments, but they could go find a sampler or, some turntables so they could start creating music that way. And so they gravitated to that and they cultivated that. So a lot of what has happened, what you might see to be negative hip hop, I recognize it to be something that you can take something and bastardize it. And when you do that, you remove it from its roots and you take it where you want it to go just for the sake of economic gain. And because of the way that the sales were happening with the rap and gangster music, it pretty much took over the genre. So more people in the East Coast wanted to do the same thing. They wanted to rap about how gangster they was and how many drugs they sold. And it's something that turned my generation way off to the genre itself. So you got young people who still move and they're deviating from the core roots of what it was all about, of peace, unity, love, and having fun. So
Thanks, Milton. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Andrea has her hand up.
Hi, good evening. Or if it's evening where you are, I think it is. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I just want to give a shout out to Bigg Zee, Zach. And I had a question for you when you were rapping and you said, the young ones can lean on me. That really touched my core. And so I just wanted to ask if you could speak to that a little bit, what that meant for you.
Wow, thank you so much. I appreciate that. So in the course of my life, I've been blessed to have both parents in my life, and a lot of the younger children that I know around my area and all my younger brothers and cousins didn't necessarily have a dad or a mom around to look out for them. So with that song, with all of those people looking up to me, especially with the music that I make, it was just kind of a testament to that, if you look up to me as somebody, as a leader, somebody that you can aspire to be, then you can lean on me anytime you want, because I'm going to be here, and even if it's just through my music, I hope it makes you feel something, That's the basic of that bar anyways, is just to make sure all the young people know that there's always somebody there for them, even when they don't believe it.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. Martha, and then Janine.
Thanks. I'm fascinated with these two different worlds of hip hop and rap, and I'm wondering what we've heard tonight. What is the typical context and audience for these kinds of performances, and how widespread is it? Because I really love the content, and I think it could be a balm for society if more people could hear it. And so I'm just wondering who is hearing it and where.
Go ahead, Bigg Zee.
Oh, you go ahead, Kirk.
Okay, all right, thank you. What you heard from me tonight is pretty much what I perform at colleges. I've been performing at colleges for the past 20 years. And the theme of what I do is called Pursue Your Passion. So the kids, young people, they love it. They respond very well to it. And the reason why, again, going back to what was said before, there's something else that I want to address with the positive and the negative. There are a lot of positive rappers and hip hop artists out there, but big corporations will not sign them, will not give them a record deal. It's like if it's anything uplifting, you don't get a deal. And that's why you don't hear about them. You have to find them on YouTube. I have a poem called Program to Self-Destruct. I'm just going to read a verse from it to get you, because I spoke about this in that poem, and I think the verse is important. It says, T-2 and hours at hand to completely remove the Negro from this promised land. From the days of slavery, his woman has always given the courage to endure even more. Before we can destroy the Negro, he must identify with his woman as a bee or a whore. Program him through his music as he laughs and dances. He'll come to devalue his woman before he can awaken from his trance. Financially encourage him to glorify murdering each other in his music. Make it cool for him to spend time in prison, sort of like a rite of passage to catch a case. But he dares not open his mouth in his music and speak of harming any member of the white race. And that's hip hop for you. In the culture, we will talk about killing each other. I'll murder you for this. This is my block. The woman is a bee. She's a hoe. And it's been systematically put out to bring down the vibration of a people who use it once to uplift themselves. So the thing that was at one point we used to emancipate ourselves from mental slavery, like Bob Marley said, is now the very same thing that is using to imprison us mentally. And if you want the big money and the big checks, then you got to look like Nicki Minaj. You got to take your clothes off. You got to be naked if you're a young lady, and you have to undress. And if you're a man, you have to mentally undress. You have to become a puppet of the system. Talk about the lowest vibration conversation you could have. Let's put that on record, and that's what they put out. But there's a group of people who have positive hip hop, but as long as the same people in charge of the record company stays in charge, you will never see it on the mainstream. All you will hear is negativity, killing, murder, BH, all this stuff that you'll just tune out because it's offensive to your ears. It's offensive to your consciousness. But that's not how hip hop started. And it was other folks who came into business and realized we could make money exploiting these people and this genre. And that's how rappers became millionaires and multimillionaires, by selling out their own and disrespecting their woman. You never hear of a white artist talking about, I'm going to murder everybody, I'm going to kill this, I'm going to do that. You never hear a white artist calling his woman a B and an H in every single song. Maybe one song where he's mad at his ex-girlfriend, but not every single song, every single album. But that's hip hop. It's a systematic plan to destroy us mentally, and we fall for it.
Can you post the source of that quote on the chat, please?
What quote?
The one that you just read, or whoever said that.
That's his book.
Oh, it's a line. It's like 12 lines from a poem in the book.
Of your own.
Yeah.
Book. Yeah.
Which book?
His book.
It's in The Sound of Melanin.
Zach, are you going to weigh in on this?
I was asking that they do. I need Zach and Bigg Zee to talk about it because they produce positive hip hop. I love what I've heard, and the fact that this is like the first time that I've heard it is what saddens me about the whole thing, because they're producing what I want my 12-year-old son to listen to.
That's so much knowledge getting passed around. I love this. So much. I mean, that's what I'll say. This Karim definitely put me on that path because I did rap the same way. I called it a realist rap when I first thought of it. I thought of it like trying to paint a picture of what I was living, but then I realized that there was a better way to do it and a better way to go about it, and not just to talk about the struggles that I had, but how I made it into a positive, or how I made it into something better with my life, how I'm doing better now, and how I'm trying to do more for me and my family and the people that are around me. And it took a lot of learning to get to that point, but once you really find your true essence with yourself, it's basically what hip hop is. It's your soul, it's your heart, it's everything in your being that you know is right and what's good towards you. And that's what I try to project in my music anyways. I hope that projects with all of y'all. Creative, you have anything to say? I know you want to talk for a while too.
Yeah, man. I just wanted to add, as to the original question that you had, Martha. Yeah, you asked the question about how widespread is it? And I've traveled to many countries, and everywhere that I've been, rap exists in quite a strong way. From India to South Korea. When I was in Seoul, South Korea, rap is almost the normal mode of expression for that society, and it shocked me so much. Because I thought, being in Canada, that I was a little bit foreign to the birthplace of hip hop, and that it was, I was honored to have heard it, and to take part in it, and but then traveling to South Korea, I was just so blown away. There's like hundreds of these underground small rap concerts with tons and tons of little rap groups. One of the most famous TV shows is about who's going to be the next rap star, and it's all in Korean, right? It's an incredible, and for me also, I run something called the Rap Camp, and so I've traveled working with rap and spoken word and poetry with children, youth, and adults. So it's taken me many places. I was in Guyana working in the prisons with the inmates, and the inmates, using rap as a means to express themselves. It was absolutely therapy. It was group therapy through rap. And there's a group in the Lusignan prison named the Prisoners of Hope. And so I'm going to shout out to them because I know this is going on YouTube and they may see it. And these men in the Lusignan prison have such unity between them, and they were able to use rap to actually go deeper. They already had a great community amongst themselves, but they used this mode of expression to dig deeper to their own life and share it with the group. And then in another prison, two of the participants said, I had the best sleep of my life last night. It was a 2-day workshop. And they said, last night, I actually slept the whole night, the deepest sleep of my entire life. And one of them said it was the deepest sleep of my entire sentence. They said, I can't sleep in this place. It's not a nice place to be. But after expressing, in this way, I was able to sleep well. So it's just, to me, it's, yes, there is exactly everything that Kirk said about, the corporations and not getting a deal, and you need to speak a certain way and say a certain thing. Okay, you'd like me to stop? Okay. Sure.
Thank you, Karim. We have waiting to make a comment or ask a question, Jamie, Chuck, and then Charlotte. Charlotte, I see you. Jamie, you want to go next? Janine, I'm sorry, Janine. I always mispronounce it. Janine. Then Chuck, then Charlotte.
Thank you. And I know that you're going to put on your link other music that we can, and rap and spoken word and hip hop from all 4 of our artists tonight. But I'm wondering if each of them could just tell us a little bit about how we can find them, because I'd like to hear it recorded for those people that I'm going to recommend this recording to, so that might not have access to that email, or like, for instance, if I want to pass you along to someone, do I go to YouTube? Do I go to your website? how do I get the word out about you?
Yeah. Well, Kirk has put his information in the chat room there for you on YouTube. And when you get the email, you can just copy it and send
Right.
it whomever you want.
Right. I know, but you know, for some of us, we're older and we don't know how this works. So I mean, I'm older and I know YouTube, I know website, but that's all I know. So is that all there is?
Yeah, that's it pretty much. Yeah, you're just going to go to a website or to YouTube or maybe even Facebook. And the link that you're going to get in the email, all you have to do is just put your little mouse cursor on it and click, and it will take you right there.
Sure, I
So,
get that.
oh,
But
okay.
I'd like each of them just speak about what they'd like me to say to young people or to others, other older people, you know, when I'm passing along their information.
Oh, I see. My apologies. Okay.
That's okay. It was a loaded question.
You set me up, Jenny. Friends, people. We're friends. Anybody?
Well, I just got to say that most of the stuff that I've done hasn't been published yet. I'm still trying to make sure I can connect, and I'm so grateful to Sherilyn for connecting me with Karim, and the ideas of us possibly collaborating so he can help me get where he's at. I'm an old man that's pretty much had a dream deferred for quite some time. I wrote these songs years ago and never did anything with them. And now that I've met Karim, and my son attended his rap camp over the summer, and he really loved it. And I totally appreciate his efforts in that activity to get him inspired to move in that way. And yeah, I look forward to putting some things together. Now, my background and what I've done, you know, for the majority of my adult life was be the entrepreneur that helped invest in my brother's talent. The artwork behind me is my brother's work. The T-shirt that I have on is more work, and we have a online Shopify shop, and it's going to be a lot of Bahá'í-inspired and race healing inspired T-shirts and designs, and you know, Black Pride concepts that'll be there. The shop's not ready. I wanted to give Sherilyn the link today, but I got to work out some kinks, and so she'll share it later. But the name of it is the Spot 25 on Shopify. For some reason, every time I share it, it gives you guys they're looking for the admin. They want my email and stuff, and that's not what's work. I need to figure out how to get people to go straight to the shop. So I'm working on that. I do want to say before I pass it to Bigg Zee and Karim that you guys inspired me to want to sing. And Tony asked if I could perform again. So please, Sherilyn, leave me time to do this one song that's related to a song that they did. That Step to Be Royal. I have a song entitled Royal that I wrote for my son.
Oh, nice, nice, nice. Well, I'm hoping all of you have still got something else you can pull out of your pockets tonight, because everybody wants to hear from everybody again. But let's finish this question, get to the next two people, Chuck and Charlotte, and then see where we are with time and what else you guys can do for us tonight, because no one really wants to let any of you go.
I think is the answer to the question just saying out loud where to find our music? Is that right?
Is that your question, Janine?
That and what would you like us to say to promote your music to young people and to older people?
Okay, so I'll jump right in. So karimrushdy.bandcamp.com. So I put it in the chat there. And for me, it's basically my music and who I am is directly related to the Baha'i faith. And so it's probably important to share that, because I say Baha'u'llah in my songs. I'm not afraid to do that. It's part of who I am. I talk about the Baha'i faith. I also have other songs where I just speak, I'm processing my world around me, but basically bringing up the Baha'i faith as part of who I am as a musician as well, a lyricist, is probably important for anyone that hasn't heard it and wants to hear it. But also it's positivity, it's love, it's accepting of all people. You don't have to be a Baha'i to listen to the music. I don't mean it like that, but that's part of who I am and what I bring to the music.
Thank you. Thank you.
And for me, I just put one link in the chat. It's for the song Lean On Me specifically. but I have an album out called PTSD. Now, understandably, PTSD, everybody might know what that term stands for, post-traumatic stress disorder. But for my album, I labeled it as Poetic Truth, Solutions, and Decisions. So basically, that's what all my music is just a different way of me going into the deep thoughts of my mind. And for anybody that wants to listen, if you don't like one song, just switch it to the next, because there's going to be a song on there for everybody. And that's what I hope I'm doing.
Great, great. Let me just rephrase the question just a little bit, because Janine, I think you're really getting at something important here. And how would you speak to a younger audience, not to us old people, and and say, hey, come check this out? What's the lingo? What's the code?
Personally,
What would you say?
Personally, I speak the same way to everybody.
Okay.
I know that when I was younger, and even just right now, like I haven't really been talking too much just because I've been trying to take in the knowledge that everybody's been passing off and trying to really learn from the older hip hop heads that were before me. And I know that since a young age, when I was younger, when older people would talk down to me, I wouldn't listen at all. But when I talk to them on the same level that I talk to everybody on, they actually get to a point where they appreciate it and they understand it more and they take it in more because they know that you want to be almost like a part of them, in a sense.
Anybody else?
I'll just give you my information real quick.
Yeah.
So to answer the question, how would you speak to someone about what I'm doing? How would you tell them about it? The heart knows. So if you're speaking from your heart, people understand passion. So if you're speaking from your heart, listen, I saw this thing, I loved it. Speak from your heart. Don't try to speak from your mind because it will complicate everything. Just speak from your heart. And if you do that, your message will always come true because your integrity, your love, all of that comes true. Really quick, my name is my brand. So if you go to YouTube and you type in Kirk Nugent, every poem that I did tonight, there's a video on YouTube for that poem. So you can have it right there. If you type in kirknugent.com, that's my website. There's another project that I'm working on. I just want to mention it really quick. It's called thesoundofmelanin.org. And what the Sound of Melanin is, I started that because I want to do a project to rebuild the self-esteem of people of color. For far too long, we have not loved our big noses, our broad lips. We have not loved the way that we look. So the Sound of Melanin is just telling us that we're beautiful regardless, in spite of what we've heard. So that's a website that I have, thesoundofmelanin.org. And later as the night progresses, I'll tell you more about all the stuff that I'm doing because I don't want to eat up the time right now. So I'll yield to someone else.
Song of Melanin?
thesoundofmelanin.org. It's in the chat as
Thank
well,
you.
you'll see.
Yeah,
Very
it's in the
welcome.
chat. Thank you. Chuck, you're up. Are you still there, Chuck? And then Charlotte Greenfield after you.
Yeah, I'm still here. I just had a few comments about the evening, if I may. First of all, I'm a 73-year-old man, white guy, who I've never really been into rap and hip hop, partly because of some of the things that have been expressed earlier about it. Once you get into gangster rap and that kind of stuff, it just turns me off. So I just avoided it. I'm also a singer, but I'm a more contemporary singer, so I just wanted to share with Milton as a singer, whenever whenever a family member or a close friend dies, they want me to sing at their funeral. So I can definitely relate to what you were saying about your dad's funeral and the song Happy that you wrote for your dad's funeral and had me in tears. My father died about 15 years ago. So, and I sang at his funeral. Excuse me, can't read my writing through the tears. I wanted to thank Bigg Zee and for the songs that you guys did. I'm sorry, I'm also got a bad memory for names. For the songs that you did, and especially the ones where you mentioned Baha'u'llah in them. I've had the bounty of being able to sing with Dash Crofts a little bit and Dan Seals a little bit. And it really impressed me as when I was first investigating the faith back in the late 60s, early 70s, when they said the word Baha'u'llah and the Baha'i faith in their music, and actually used some of the quotes in their music. And I'm talking about the commercial music that they sold in, out in the world, and so, kudos to you guys for doing that, and more power to you. And to Kirk, I am currently in several talk groups, Zoom meetings like this one, trying to understand the reality of racism in this country and what I may or may not be able to do about it, at my age and situation in life. And your pieces that you did, to me, gave me a peek into the heart and soul of the Black man. I think, at least, a deeper understanding than I had before tonight. And I wanted to thank you for that. Thank you. And thank you, Cheryl, for making this possible.
Thank you, Chuck. Chuck always speaks from his heart. Always. Miss Charlotte, finally.
Yes. I just, I was really struck by what Milton and Kirk were saying about the origins of hip hop and rap, and how they have been positive cultural images at the beginning until the commercial interest took over and kind of like promoted the gangsta stuff or whatever, and also that part of the underlying purpose behind that was to undermine the Black community and make the men in the Black community feel like criminals or brag about being criminals and disrespect their women, which hadn't been the case in the past. And I was curious when Karim said that he'd been all around the world and that hip hop and rap were common everywhere. And I wondered if the negative forces had taken over that genre in the other parts of the world, or if they were still positive images of their own cultures. So I just was really curious about whether that negative influence was worldwide or whether it was just here.
Great.
Yeah, thank you so much for the question. My take on it, my humble take on it, is that there's that commercialized sort of message of negativity or one image of how a person can be, and that is obviously prevalent because that's what gets exported to the world, is the really popular stuff. However, with hip hop, when I was in Seoul, there's a huge community that wants to stay true to the art form. So there's break dancers, there's graffiti artists. It's just like a copycat situation, and they are finding joy and peace in it. And they talk about these same things that Milton and Kirk and Bigg Zee and myself have been talking about positivity, love, respecting women, all these things. And so another point I just want to make is rap is also a powerful tool for kind of reflecting the conversation of the moment. So whatever conversations we're having in our life, it's very easy to throw them into a rap song. So if I'm thinking about things in a certain way, I can express them quickly into a song and say it blatantly. I don't need to say it poetically. It can be poetic, but I can also just state it. So I think another thing to keep in mind is, you know, the conditions of the land, of the people where they are, will be reflected into the rap music for sure, 100%. That's just my humble take on my experience.
Yeah, I just was wondering if there's any way, as far as like, you know, trying to support these positive performances or albums or whatever, that we could switch that commercialization, you know, conversation to make to help the commercial powers that be or whatever see that there is also a market for this positive stuff, or if it's like a lost cause.
Yeah, there definitely is a market. One way is to, you know, support the artists that are on this call, buy their albums, buy their books. That definitely helps. And another thing is, with the internet now, there are some artists emerging to the higher popular level. One of them is Kobe Nwigwe. You know, he's on a mission. He's putting out a brand new song and video every single Sunday. His message is a message of love, hope, and peace. But he doesn't hold back from the darkness either. He gives everything in his music. And so there is a lot, actually, there's more than ever, in my opinion. And it's our job to kind of go and find it. And if we just let the popular stuff hit us and say, well, that's rap, that's hip hop, then that's not actually the case. You know, there's a lot out there. There's a lot of, you know, there's only one Bigg Zee, but there's a lot of other, you know, young guys coming up with this excited message of hope and unity.
That was really an excellent question to ask, Charlotte. I'm so glad you asked that. And your response too, of course, Karim, because it further supports what the pupil of the eye sees here in this country, is that it's used as a form of oppression. Now, why wouldn't you see it in some place like South Korea, right? I mean, it's an excellent question. But when you look at South Korea, its demography, just about everybody's South Korean. They don't have black and white. You know, they have other, you know, issues, I'm sure. To be sure, every society does. But you don't have a distinctive, quote unquote, racial difference, right? You know, that's so obvious and so apparent. And Cynthia Phillips, I want to share her comment that you put here in the chat on this issue. And she says, I've traveled the world. Black rap is the negative type, but the ethnic types of rap are not. They borrow the rhythm, but not the negative words and attitudes, I would say. Tahare, you wanted to jump in here?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep.
Thank you so much. This is a really mind-blowing event. But something that I wasn't thinking of that came up, and I really appreciate people's honesty, and I think that other people do too. I just assume that people, especially Baha'is, have heard different kinds of music, and there's Baha'i rap artists in like local communities. I know there's some in Wisconsin. I know some of the callers on tonight, or the Zoomers on tonight, are from Wisconsin. But even though I'm not a artist by any stretch of the imagination, I appreciate it. And maybe if I could just speak to some concerns, because I've been having this conversation with mostly white people of all ages about what I feel rap is and how I feel it speaks to me and to other people. To me, it's protest music. For one part of it, it's like folk music, but it's in a different way. It's protesting like when enslaved people sang at any point. It protests oppression. It protests all kinds of things. It's incredibly loving. And it, just like rock music, there's some rock music that I don't understand what anybody's saying. I know they're just screaming, and it's very negative. They fight at concerts, and so it's not any specific music, it's how it is performed. And I mean, that doesn't get reported on. Rock concerts, I know people that go to these things, they're very violent. That doesn't get reported on the news. And maybe somebody on the one of the musicians could answer this, but don't you think that part of the commercialization was to take rap away in its form that it was, or the form that it could have been? Because there was no way to just say, okay, we're going to ban your drums. Okay, we're going to ban rap. You couldn't just get rid of rap music. So to dirty it and you know, ruin it with like you said, the commercialization, being very violent, playing into stereotypes that white people already should have shed, just reinforced a lot of negativity. And also for people who might have a hard time wrapping their minds around it, think of Shakespeare. You need a translation to be able to, you know, and Shakespeare, they talk so fast, and it's very hard the first time to get it. You need to know what you're listening to, and people who listen to it all the time really appreciate it. Or like opera. So I would say, you know, just Google the heck out of it and start listening to stuff. Just like you would if you were going to study opera or study Russian or something. But yeah, this is a conversation I've had, and there's some are older, but yeah, mostly old white Baha'is that are really negative toward any culture that isn't, you know, what they think is a very, like, quote unquote nice, normal, middle class culture, and which is mind blowing. But and they don't understand that that's part of the systemic racism, is the suppression of music, of free speech, and when it is violent, it's violent because that's the protest. You know, you can't go out as, I mean, you could as an entire group of people and just take things. It's protesting what is an intolerable situation with something that can make everyone feel good. And maybe doing something as a side for just older people to get them interested in music and how healing and how social it is. And thanks, Kurt, for being very honest and telling us and explaining some things about trauma, because that's definitely something that we all have to deal with, and to feel positive, find positive ways of working through it and finding a solution. And that's what music is supposed to do. It's in the writings, and I can't think of a more important thing than music at all, period, except for, you know, the exact Baha'i faith. But thank you.
Thank you, Tahari.
Can
And
I say something?
that's one of the reasons why we came up with this for tonight, you know, was to expose people, you know, who probably didn't have the opportunity to, or, you know, and I said it's clean hip hop, meaning, you know, you're not going to be bombarded with all this, you know, negative stuff and, you know, foul language. And so if anyone here has gained a greater appreciation for it, or, you know, hey, mission accomplished, you know, in my view, because this is part of Black culture. And like every culture, not all of it's clean and pretty, right? It just isn't. Let's just face it, it's not. And I think Tahari does have a good point. You know, on the one hand, it does express a reality, but how that reality is expressed, you know, is another matter. That's just my opinion. So I had a couple of hands up. Milton wants to respond to that.
Yeah,
And then Winnie, Chuck, did your hand go up too?
it did.
Okay, so it was Chuck and then Winnie.
At one time, people thought Cab Calloway and Bing Crosby were corrupting young people. I mean,
oh yeah, and the blues was bad
Elvis,
too. Yeah.
all of that. So, and that's the thing, she brought up that point when she said that something, I interpreted what she said to be a co-opting of the culture. Sometimes they do something to abase it, and they push that to try and limit the audiences. You know, they'll push the negative element to try and limit the audiences. But the thing was, I don't know if that was the original intent behind why that was happening. I think more specific to it is the economic realization that there was independent artists putting out their own music, and they were selling tens of, not hundreds of thousands of CDs from out of their trunks. And the industry saw this happening, and they recognized that that which was selling happened to be the music that was being developed and cultivated by those who were in the gangs, those who were in the drug trade, who had the money and the means to finance what they were doing. And they kept perpetuating it. Whereas I know in the East Coast of, you know, America, especially the tri-state area, when the Native Tongues movement, which included Queen Latifah and Tribe Called Quest and those folks, they were always putting songs together and putting a cultural expression together that helped us feel really good about ourselves. In the same way that Kirk said, the sound of melanin is pushing in that way. It made us understand that we came from greatness. And you know, there was a whole lot of those kinds of songs to let us know to be proud of who we were, no matter what the system was telling us, no matter what the media was saying about us, no matter how dehumanizing the systems of oppression are in this country. And what there was a message, the song called The Message by the Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. And there's this one verse where one of the brothers says, "A child is born with no state of mind, blind to the ways of mankind. God's smiling on you, but he's frowning too, because only God knows what you'll go through. You'll grow up in the ghetto living second rate, and your eyes will sing a song of deep hate. The places you lay and where you stay look like one great big alleyway. You'll admire all the number book makers, drugs, pimps, and pushers, and the big money makers, driving big cars, spending 20s and 10s, and you'll want to grow up to be just like them. Smugglers, gamblers, burglars, gamblers, pickpockets, peddlers, even panhandlers. You say I'm cool, huh, I'm no fool, but then you wind up dropping out of high school. Now you're unemployed, all non-void, walking around like your pretty boy Floyd, turned stick-up kid, but look what you done did. Got sent up for an 8-year bid. Now your manhood is took and you're a Maytag. Spend the next 2 years as an undercover fag being used and abused to serve like hell. Till one day you're found hung dead in your cell. It was plain to see that your life was lost. You were cold and your body swung back and forth. But now my eyes sing the sad, sad song of how you lived so fast and died so young." So that message was there from the early 1980s. This was a message in the music that was communicated to us as young people, and we understood there was something. But then it just went somewhere else. and they were talking about F the police, and I'm selling drugs and guns, and that B gonna do this and that. And fast forward to today, where the #1 song in the country is that WAP song by Cardi B, where they're objectifying women and their sexuality. And it's something that is, I say it turned back the clock on us. I'm like, Jesus Christ, we're moving so far ahead, and they dropped that on us. But it's just the way that it works. The way of the world is such that the systems will continue to debase and dehumanize us if we allow it to happen. But to bring light to the things, like Sherilyn said, we're here to do something about that. I've got my oldest child is 31 years old. She's a female, and she's produced a couple children, so she made me a grandpa. And my youngest child is 12 years old. And I'm working through my children to ensure that they get to know not just who we are, where we are, how we are, but why we are. And the most important question, that why comes, we're here to serve the cause of God. And we're gonna work this until we get it right. You're muted, Sherilyn.
Thank you, Milton. He always has my back. Thank you. I wanted to just tag on briefly, and then we'll get to Chuck and Winnie. What you just said, you know, about our purpose of being here. And there's a line that I just love in Kirk's "I Need You to Remember," because this is how I feel about my purpose, our purpose, you know, in life, right? Is to to make things better, to carry forward that ever-advancing civilization. And this line just captures it for me. And he says, I wish I had the whole thing for the better context, but he says, we're members of the ground crew meant to stop the onslaught. We're the ground crew, okay? God's not coming down and building it for us, okay? He tossed us the plans. He says, here's an update. Here's a new revelation for this day and age. This is the plan. These are the things you need to do. These are the tools you need. This is how you have to grow as individuals. This is how you have to have a humble posture in society and persevere and be that ground crew here on earth that's going to make that kingdom come. So I just wanted to say that because I've been waiting to bring that quote of his, of Kirk's, in all night long, because I just love that so much. Do you want to speak to that, Kirk, at all? You're on mute.
Okay, sure. Years ago, thank you so much, Charlene, for leading into that. But years ago, I was searching like everyone else, because this world of ours didn't make any sense to me. And I read a series of books. I think they were called Handbook for a New Paradigm. And the thing that stood out to that book, it was the first book that I ever read that said, there's no copyright laws. You can share it however you want to share. And as I'm reading this handbook for the new paradigm, it's talking about a new earth that we're capable of creating with our light. And I was in my 20s when I read the book. And it spoke about the ground crew. We're members of the ground crew. And I adopted that as my philosophy, that I'm here as boots on the ground. Like when the military invades someplace, they send in the boots on the ground first. So my purpose is to be part of that boot on the ground. And before we end tonight, I think we're all going to do another piece. So I'll do the follow-up, the extension of that ground crew piece for you guys. I'll leave you with that.
Awesome. Oh, fantastic. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that.
My pleasure.
Okay. And thanks for letting me get that in, folks. Chuck and then Winnie.
Yeah, I just want to ditto several things that have already been said. Like one thing that I forgot to say, didn't have in my notes, but I did put in the chat earlier about this old white guy. The reason I'm here, knowing that tonight's program was going to be on rap, is because I need to learn. And I appreciate what you just said about gangster rap is part of the Black culture. And I turned it off. As a white guy, it was uncomfortable for me to listen to, so I turned away from it. And so I appreciate you saying what you said and opening my eyes to that fact and to the growth that another area of the growth that I still need to do. I have enjoyed tonight's program, and like I said, rap has been something I kind of completely turned away from, even though I was really only turning away from the gangster part. And I really appreciate the music that y'all did tonight and the eye-opening messages that you shared with us. And again, Cheryl, to the eye-opening message that you shared about gangster rap being part of the culture as well. And whether I'm comfortable or not, it's something I need to learn. So thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. Winnie?
Yeah, Chuck, from an even older gal. One thing that always fascinated me when I would happen to stumble on, even the bad rap, and something that I really appreciate about the people who have the skill to do it, is the ability to take your thoughts and put it with a rhythm and a beat and a rhyme. And I've always thought that was fascinating. But I think there's something about that rhythm and that beat. And I think the same thing in the experience I've had of singing with gospel choirs. People resist it because it's unfamiliar or they associate it with certain groups. And yet there's a response. one time when One Human Family was singing at Green Lake, and there was a gal in the front row with her arms crossed, and by golly, she was not going to respond. And halfway through, I saw her foot go on. And I just wanted to shout, we got her. But there's something about that rhythm, and I think it relates to the heartbeat, that I think we come in sync with that. When we hear any style of music that has a strong beat or a rhythm, our heart goes with it, and how much more so when it's a positive message. You have that physiological heart response, and then you have the soul and the mind responding too when it's positive.
Thank you, Winnie. Cynthia had her hand up, and then we're going to pause, and after that, go ahead, Cynthia.
Yes, thank you, Winnie, for what you said. It's definitely ethnic music, Black music is soul music, definitely. No matter whether you're from America or any place around the world, that the roots started in Africa. It's definitely ethnic music. But I wanted to say thank you very much to all of you, Milton, Kurt, and they're off the screen now. Bigg Zee and Karim, where is he? They're off the screen.
They've just left. They've just left. But we have their music.
That was fantastic. That was fantastic. I mean, every one of you said something different. It touched my heart. Milton, how you can memorize all those long, complex lines. I am just so impressed, and just deep, deep thought. Same with you, Kirk, just fantastic. I mean, some of the things you took me back to my rap days in the 80s, and thank you for all the information, and just beautiful. The other two that just left, just really, really nice. So it's been a wonderful night. So I can't thank you anymore. It's just been beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. Robin, Sue, you had your hands up. Kirk, let me know. These guys got my back. I tell you, they're wonderful. Where are you,
And
Robin?
thank you for that.
There you are. Okay.
An observation. Rap might be characterized as something like Straight Outta Compton or something like that, whatever, whether it's West Coast, East Coast. One of the things that came very clear to me, because our rappers were gracious enough to slow it down, was the sophistication of the writing. This is not simple stuff. This is sophisticated stuff. This is stuff that you could take a song like Baha'u'llah's writings and pick it apart and go over it line by line and talk about it, because it is so sophisticated, so deep, and such amazing stories. And I just, kudos to all of you. And that's something that tonight helped me really appreciate deeply. This is beyond get a hoe, get a hoe, get a hoe, and all that.
Well, you weren't expecting that
kind of stuff, which I was not expecting. But that's what I've been used to hearing. And I looked a little bit at the Cardi B and all that jazz, and I went, oh, no. This is proof positive of what Shoghi Effendi said about how morals are going to deteriorate. It has nothing to do with skin color. It just has to do with morals in general. So again, kudos to all of you writing such incredible stuff and bearing your hearts.
And Sue dittos that.
Did you hear that? Sue dittos that.
We did.
Absolutely.
I could I could relate to the verbal abuse, not the physical abuse, but the mental abuse. Man, that's irrespective of color, and the way that was expressed was absolutely, man, that was touching my heart right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you, Rob. Thank you, Sue. I'm gonna call on someone who hasn't raised their hand, but they're in here in the chat room flashing lyrics. Okay, come on out here, Mary and Dennis McGregor. We need to hear from you all. Come on off mute. There you go. Say something to us. There we go. There's Mary.
Where am I? I can't see myself.
Okay, I see you. You're kind of in the middle there.
Oh, okay. It's just me. Dennis is in the other room. I remember all of those groups. Grandmaster Flash and the Sugar Hill Gang and Queen Latifah. One of my favorite songs from Queen Latifah is Unity.
U-N-I-T-Y.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, and I understand what you're saying about the corporations, how they treat the artists who want to make a living and want to make a living honestly. But these big wigs in suits who really have no respect for the spoken word and for the talent of artists, they just feel they can do what they want. And not just to the rap artists and hip hop artists, but to all artists. It happened to my friend Irene Cara, what they did to her. And she's at an age where she should be retired, but she had to start over because the big wigs just ruined her, blacklisted her, and she had to leave the United States and go to Europe to work, to make a living, to take care of herself. So this is just something that's across the board in the music industry.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mary. It's good to see you and good to hear from you and sharing some of those memories with us. Before we transition into some final performances, I'm hearing two lines of action. One thing we want to try and bring into each of these conversations that we have is not just to learn and be inspired and, you know, all that good stuff, but what are we going to do with this when we leave here? And I've heard two lines of action. One is sharing this clean hip hop, this uplifting spoken word, sharing it with family, friends, grandkids, youth, whatever, right? And then the other is actually supporting it too, right? You know, the guy's got to work, and it's work. I mean, this, yeah, like you said, this is a lot of work that these guys go through. So, so I just kind of wanted to throw that out there. Has anyone thought of another line of action that we can take from what we've heard and thought about this evening?
Hi, you haven't
Yes.
called on me. Yeah, this is Angelita.
Yes, I
Hi.
haven't seen your hand up or anything. I'm glad you're coming in.
Oh, thank you. I had my hand up and then everybody else had such great comments. I was listening.
Okay.
And I wanted to, yeah, I thought your question right now is so relevant, you know, for courses of action. So much of what people have been saying has really moved me. And as far as courses of action, one of the things that I strongly have heard from many of my white friends, as well as my white Baha'i friends, is for white Americans to listen, to step back and listen and to hear. And this is what a number of people have said this evening about hearing the meaning of hip hop and rap music. Just not listening just to the music, but to the meaning of it and and growing from it. And I was really moved and impressed by that because that's the beginning of learning to hear and to listen, not to be defensive with the old ways of thought. And so I think many of the friends here this evening are doing just that, and they're taking action to say that they have grown from this presentation, from this program. And I've just found it fascinating. If I could also say one quick thing, Sherilyn, some years ago, I traveled to Kazakhstan, it was a business trip. I was in a restaurant with, my hosts, with the interpreter, because they speak Russian in Kazakhstan. And there was music coming through the speaker in the restaurant, a very nice restaurant. And of course, the music was in Russian. And I really liked it because it was hip hop, Russian rap. And I didn't understand it. And so I asked the translator with us, could you please translate it? What are they saying? And she said no, and, sort of zipped her mouth. And I didn't understand why she said no, because I liked the beat. And I found out later, because there was so much profanity in the song, she did not want to repeat the profanity. So we do respond in a very visceral way many times to the beat, even if it's too fast, or if we can't understand the words, the lyrics. We're responding to the rhythm, to the beat first, and then we get into the lyrics if we're able to. So thank you for this dynamic session on analyzing this music from so many different ways. Thank you.
You're muted again.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Angelita, very much. I really appreciate hearing from you.
I want to speak to that if
your
I can.
experience as well. Yeah. So, okay. Karim and Z had to leave. Karim is taking Z back to the res, which is an hour one way. So, they stayed as long as they could. But I do have their song or the Lean On Me song that we all enjoyed so much on YouTube. So I'm going to be able to pull that up so we can go out with that. But I know we have some other offerings to close up the evening a little bit. Any last questions or comments before we do that? Winnie?
Just a quick comment on what we can do. And I think in conversation, anytime we hear somebody saying something about that terrible music, we now know the history and we have to speak up. We have to, correct the misinterpretations. And that's a very simple thing, but certainly having been educated ourselves on the background, pass it on.
Awesome. Yes. Awesome idea. Anybody else? Tony, James, we have two Tonys. Tony?
I was on my tablet and I switched to my computer and I shut the other one down, so
okay,
it's not off. So I just wanted to say that when I was asking questions and making comments, I feel like I was kind of sharing some of my mistakes and my vulnerabilities, and I want to say that I appreciate Milton and Kirk answering questions that I didn't know I had to ask, and for being patient with me and kind and forgiving of my ignorance and my limitations. I just want to thank everyone here for not judging me for not wanting to explore this genre. So thank you so much.
Yeah, Tony, I just want to let you know that I appreciate you for giving me the opportunity to serve in this way, to address, the ideas and the concerns that you have, to be able to share the personal experiences that I've had with you in this space so that we can become better friends, because that's what it's really all about. We all have to be friends. In order to get to this unity that we're looking for, like Kirk said, the ultimate answer is love. I can't see you as a stranger. I got to know that you just, like Michael Jackson said, you're just another part of me. I got to know that. I got to accept that. I got to work through that. I got to get through that process. And I did want to address what Angelita said in relation to there was a cause or a motivating force behind the profanity in the music that's produced by Black Americans. And we saw it evolve. We recognized that there was a time when in that early day of hip hop, you couldn't really use profane language. You couldn't curse in your raps. It was something that was being banned. But then once it happened, and the vulgarity started to be expressed, and then the Two Live Crew came out with a song, Me So Horny, and they had a whole album of vulgar material because they were from Miami, and Miami had a lot of strip clubs and the lifestyle and the culture of the Miami-based sound. Their lyrics were perpetuating the misogyny and all of the activities that happen inside the strip club. And then the government, somebody in government decided that they were going to ban Luke Skywalker and the Two Live Crew, and he took it to court, and it made it to the Supreme Court, and it got upheld under the Second Amendment of freedom of speech. And what the industry did in response to that was to decide to slap the labels for mature audiences only on their material. And what corporations saw was when the product had that on it, the kids didn't even know who the artist was. But if it had the mature sticker on it, they ran out and bought it, because just like generations ago, if it's something your parents tell that you're not supposed to do, you're going to run straight to it. So it became another marketing element, like Kirk alluded to. It was another marketing element. And once the rappers knew that if they cursed on the records, they possibly could get more sales, their lyrics started to be filled with profane language. It's a crazy cycle that happened. And, we can reverse all that. There's a way that if we have the ability to be governing what goes on and scrutinizing how things happen, if we do it with the positive discerning eye, and we form a collective group that is a body similar to whoever gives out the Grammys or whatever, where we say, hey, we're going to go and look and study this music. And if it meets our ears and our heart's understanding as to what it does, if it serves the cause of God, then we put a sticker on it, and that's going to help identify that as something that all of us want to give to our children and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren, so that as time goes on, we help raise the mighty boots on the ground that Kirk talked about, that I like to call the troops. A new righteous generation that's made up of troops, truly righteous officers offering positive solutions to all of our problems. You feel me? I love y'all.
Love you too, Milton. And thank you, Tony, for expressing all your feelings and thoughts today. This space is exactly for that. It's judgment free. We all come here with humility. I believe everyone that presents here comes with love, and what they give us is received with love. And we're all here to grow and to become closer. And so I'm so glad you participated and came tonight, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again. And so I'm glad this has been a good experience for you. It's wonderful to hear that. Okay.
It's been tremendous.
Oh, thank you. Any last comments or questions? Okay. So who wants to go up next? I've got it'll just be the music. It's not a video on the Lean On Me song. So maybe we'll just play that last. And then, so between Milton and Kirk, how do you guys want to stage this? Oh, Cynthia had her hand up. Cynthia? No, you didn't. Okay.
I'll do the song. I wanted to get it in before Karim and Bigg Zee left, because I definitely wanted them to hear it, but I'll relay it to Karim later
Okay,
on.
you still up for it?
Yeah, no, I'll do it, because they had a line in one of the songs that they said. I'm not sure
right.
if it was Lean On Me. They said a step to be royal.
Yes.
And so the song that I wrote, and it was a while ago, it was intended for the young people. And it was a time when I was trying to cultivate exactly what everybody's asking for, to create a super group, a hip hop super group of young people between the ages of 12 and 16. And this was one of the songs that I wrote for them. It's called Royal. Did you hear the news the other day? Well, I heard and I saw, and this is what was said. On CNN, it seems there's been some great discoveries. It seems you and me, my friend, descend from royalty. Well, they found pounds and pounds of evidence, you see, and it appears we owe it all to archaeology. But I've known about this ever since, and I really, really didn't need no new documents. All my life, I've just waited to see when the rest of you would learn about the royal in me. Did you see just how long it took? Generations went through school without this in their books. They even tell of how it started, Greek philosophy. And through our influence back then came Shakespeare's poetry. Well, they found tons and tons of evidence, you see. And it appears we owe it all to archaeology. But I've known about this way back when, and I always truly understood from whom I descend. All my life, I've just waited to see when the rest of you would learn about the royal in me.
Beautiful. That was beautiful. See, now you should have had that up on the lineup tonight, Kirk. You were holding back on us. But I'm glad we got it. You'll have to give me those lyrics so I can send them out too if you like. I'm sorry, I meant to say Milton. Kirk?
Sure. I'm almost overwhelmed right now because there's so much love in the room, and like you said, it's a safe place. It's a place of non-judgment. And when human beings come together with the open hearts to just understand, it's a beautiful thing because that's how we change everything. Everyone here listened with the intention to understand, not to judge. And you don't find it very often. So it's really a beautiful thing. And I thank you guys for it. I have to preface, this poem I'm going to do is called Answer the Call. And it's a follow-up to being ground crew. And when I write, I really write for myself. I never write for the mic or write for anyone else. So I'm going to say, take whatever resonates with you, and whatever doesn't resonate, just leave it alone. Because this is part of my spiritual journey, and the wordings might be different, but it doesn't really matter, all right? But it's coming from a place of love, and it's called Answer the Call. And I believe that's what we're here to do tonight, and that's what we've been doing. That's what you've been facilitating, Sherilyn, us to answer the call. And it says, when it comes to who I am, I'm severely clear, my dear. No fear on this new frontier, for I've been planning this trip for many light years. You had your World War I, and the universe watches. World War II, you exploded your atomic bomb, and there was no judgment on our part because the ego detaches. But the alert regarding Earth was warning. The kids have found the matches. We need a team to go down to Earth, this land of natural beauty. But be careful when you enter Babylon, for they will slaughter you for less than rubies. So there I stood, Kirk Nugent, light worker, system buster, illusion crusher, and signed the call of duty. They said, light worker, we greet you with glad tidings. But in your previous lives, you've been murdered many times simply for your writings. And your mission today, it's not as easy as it seemed. You see, your clarity is now pristine. But before your insertion, your memory will be redeemed. And upon your arrival, you'll be wiped clean. The vibration of Earth is dense, the frequency low. So stay grounded in light wherever you go. The illusion is so thick, it's ridiculous. Even the so-called food was manufactured to make you sick. Everything is backwards in this twisted reality. The justice system is built upon inequality. Lawmen dressed in uniforms of brutality. Schools destroy education, doctors destroy health, and religion destroys spirituality. The leaders were placed by puppeteers who don't care, and they were instructed them how to be cavalier in the way that they smear and scare. The planet is covered in fear, engineered to leave you so unclear that you could be enslaved with light beers and empty careers. Fail to recall your mission, and you could quickly become a pioneer trapped in third density for 26,000 years. This is not an easy mission. You're going to need a way to regain your memory fast. So even though it will make you outcast, we suggest you choose at least one parent who's blinded. This way, you're going to need a contrast. Everything is a test. Ignore the chorus, stay focused, and manifest the best. Every division is an illusion set up to ensure your confusion. You see, you're a part of everything, and everything is a part of you. So there's no race, no religion, no politics, no sexual preference that should ever divide you. You are one. And the minute you participate in judgment, you will hit the pavement with your enslavement. Most of the plant will operate on 2 strands of DNA. You will have the ability to operate in 12. But the only way to do this is to make sure that your ego yields to the higher self. Calmly, I replied, with the power of the Trinity, I will transcend much energy. I know what's ahead of me. I understand that thoughts create reality. And I've stood on the zenith and seen it. Victory is ours, and I'm going to redeem it. So insert me under the sign of Scorpio so I can transcend from Scorpion to Eagle to Phoenix. They said, Kirk, inserting you directly into Babylon is far too dangerous. We will place you with a different team so that you will not be neutralized immediately up and hitting the scene. We will start you off in Jamaica. Make your way to Babylon shortly after you turn 15. By that time, your immune system will be strong enough to resist the poisons of their vaccines. Your guidance system will be the chakra of the heart. Your mission is simple: shine light into the dark. If your religion is anything other than love, you will miss the mark. And if you get caught up in the divisiveness, you will be absorbed by the dark. Forgive and forgive quickly. That is your only path. And whatever you do to a single human being, that karma you will eventually have to marry. In other words, the love that you withhold is the pain that you will carry. You could easily get trapped in third density. So let the words I am guide you back to your real identity. And when you come to a fork in the road and you're confused about how to make the call, ask yourself, is this decision serving my ego, or is it serving the highest good of all? Be conscious, Kirk, of your intentions in everything that you do. And remember, you don't have to attend every argument that you're invited to. Love will be the greatest asset of them all. Attraction will be your strength. Resistance will be your downfall. Your emotions are linked to a magnetic tower. So whatever you love, you will empower. Whatever you empower, you will establish. Show the planet how to unclench their fists and establish bliss. However, you're there to teach, not to insist. Your heart chakra is divine guidance and should never be dismissed. And it's always easier to remove your tension than it is to resist. So as you can see, there's never a reason for you to be pissed. You were sent to stand out, so don't try to fit in. And when you need to commune with God, that's when you quietly go within. And you will know that you've missed the mark when you start seeking him in a building. In this twisted system, you can easily make yourself a victim. Remember that your power ends where your fear begins. So let spirit be your guide. Let spirit give you the words to write. Keep your eyes focused solely on the good. You're there to understand, not necessarily to be understood. So don't try explaining yourself at any given length. Instead, go to nature when you feel emotionally spent. Avoid the noise, and silence will be your strength. Trust your feelings in everything that you do. You're being divinely guided, Kirk. So to thine own self, be true. Everyone is a teacher. They're neither friend nor foe. So never be offended. Being offended is a weakness of the ego. Godspeed, light worker, second wave of the ground crew. May the light surround you. May the force be with you. And as I turned to leave the room, I noticed that you were there too. Yes, you who are listening to this poem, you who are reading these words, you're right there next to me, being instructed on the protocols of third density, being reminded of your mission and its intensity. So it doesn't make sense to me to see you here in confusion, buying into the illusion, having your ego making decisions, doubting your transmission, not trusting your intuition. You're a God filled with inhibitions. So my question is, light worker, have you forgotten your mission? Thank you.
mm, mm, mm. Answer the call, baby. Yes.
Answer the call.
Yes.
Answer the call.
Oh, yes.
That's the name of my book, by the way, that all those poems are in, Answer the Call. And if I can, Cheryl, may I share something?
Absolutely.
There's a friend of mine, she's a doctor psychologist. Her name is Dr. Gladys Addo. And her and I put together a course that's called The Eye of the Storm. And the eye of the storm is about this time that we're in. I feel like we're in a storm right now. And a lot of trauma is being raised to the surface to be healed. So the course we've put together is called Eye of the Storm. And it's about walking you through the storm and giving you the tools that you need to get to that next level, to heal whatever we're going on, especially the traumas that have us see life through a very limited lens. If you're interested, again, you have my, you'll have the email link that you could get in touch with me, and I'll give you guys more information. I just want to let you guys know that we do have a course called The Eye of the Storm, and with that course, we've been changing many, many lives by just showing them the blind spot where the trauma have us reacting instead of responding. Because when we're hurt from trauma, and we all have unhealed trauma someplace in the life, and we, instead of respond with love, we react out of fear. And fear is the anger, the animosity, the hurt, all these lower vibration emotions that right now we're in a place that we're here to transcend. We're ground crew sent here to answer the call. That's my little thing. Thank you so much.
Phenomenal. Just phenomenal. Just phenomenal. Oh, boy. Preaching to the choir, Kirk. But
Thank
doing
you.
it well, very well indeed. Okay, any questions on that or comments? And then we're going to go to Lean On Me and Lean On Out.
What was the name of the psychologist?
Dr. Gladys Atto, A-T-O, Gladys, A-T-O. She's Mexican and Peruvian.
ATO?
Yeah, A-T-O. Apple, Tom, Oscar.
Yep.
Yeah. Gladys, like Gladys Knight.
Yeah. And I forgot to mention, friends, that all of the links and references that are in the chat log, you'll also get those. Nason has been posting some other references about the history of hip hop and rap, and I've neglected to mention that. So those are in there also. I'm going to pull all of that out for you, so you'll have a nice set of resources from this evening.
Milton, you and Kirk are so inspirational. I'm so happy that I came to this today, and I appreciate you both. Sending you lots of love and hugs.
Thank you.
Appreciate that, and sending it right back. That, you know, Kirk is teaching me how to perform. I've been on this life journey with Kirk.
I'm not hearing you, bro.
Oh, really? Yeah, what's going on? Hello?
Yeah, you're low.
Speak up, speak up.
Yeah.
Hello? You can hear me now?
Yeah, hearing you now.
Okay. I was saying, I've been on this life journey with Kirk for over 25 years. We initially met when I had the storefront operation, like I told you guys earlier, where my brother and I, we were doing imprintable garments with the graphic arts and designs and logos. And Kirk came in as a client to have his poetry, you know, turned into artwork that can go on his t-shirts. And it was just the irony of how things played out today. When Karim did the paradox, the problem in the paradox song, it just made me think of the irony. And Kirk's original company concept was called Ironic World. And one of his, you know, most powerful poems in the book that he has is Ironic, Isn't It? And it used to talk about the irony of just the way the society is fixed on trying to destroy us, but praise us at the same time as Black folks. You know, you've seen those things happen. He like, his books are so amazing. I've learned so much from walking on this life journey with that man. He's helped me become, he has contributed to who I am as a person just because of the walk we've had together. We tend to see a lot of things similarly, and we look at the world with the side eye together. Like, I don't know what they doing over there, you know. And so there's a lot of love that's flowed through us, We've had our ups and downs and have some rough periods, but trust me, you guys, you know, join us as we proceed forward. Sherilyn has pulled something together with this. It's a train. It's not going to slow down and not going to stop. So I just want you to know that this event is like the first of something that we've done together, but there'll be much more to come as we move forward. So you keep a lookout for the names. Follow his name first, because you probably won't see me under the name Milton Conway. It'll most likely be the other name that I have. My stage name will be Master Bligger. And the Bligger concept is something that, you know, I'll address it later on somewhere, but it is what it is. And I believe that it's a way that there will be a movement of young people who will embrace the idea of what it means to be Bligger. And you'll see them start to resonate that love energy through them. Just to be, it's almost like, for me, it's a word for divine human. It's an identity that I came upon when my mind was presented with a crisis, you know, in my growth and development. It came from Chris Rock's 1996 HBO special, where he mentioned that there was a civil war in America between the blacks and the N-word. And subsequently what came out of that was the word Bligger, because it was like, there was a time for me to call a truce, be like, hey, I kind of live in both worlds and I don't want to see us fight and divide ourselves. So let's look at our common qualities and let's try and find a way to come together. So it's like, as America is trying to find its way through this tough period, you know, white and black, people will tell you, you'll see colorism, you'll see classism, you'll see all these words that exist within the black community, where we've got to unite with ourselves so that we can better unite with everybody else. So
Good point, Milton. Thank you so much. And we'll look forward to hearing more about that later as you move along with that. So I guess last call, comments, shout outs. Okay, it's been a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for being here and being a part of this. And yeah, I'm going to be swirling and swimming in all of this all these wonderful vibrations for a long time. And I hope you will too. And see you in 2 weeks.
Before you head out, Sherilyn,
Yes.
now that I'm aware of this Zoom meeting, I'll
Yeah.
see you guys in 2 weeks as well.
Awesome.
I'll be back here to join and to share, and just because I love the space. You know, it's just very beautiful. It's heart-centered. You could tell when you're around heart-centered people, and there's no pretense here. I really love that. So the energy is beautiful, and I'll be back. It's not in the words of Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'll be back.
Well, you can bring Arnold too.
Yeah.
That's awesome. We love you.
We love you too. Yeah.
That's
Thank you.
fantastic. That's fantastic. Yeah. That you probably paid us the highest compliment anyone could, to say that this space is heart-centered. It doesn't get any better than that or any more meaningful than that for us. So on behalf of everyone, you know, thank you. And I'm so glad you feel at home here, because this is a home for you too.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna start crying, so let me be quiet. And we're gonna go ahead. I'm gonna play Lean on Me. Like I said, it isn't a video, it's just the